Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new series, What If Naruto Had Harem from Another Universe. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
There was no happy ending. There would be no happily ever after with her beloved. She had the impression that the faith had deceived her, boosting her expectations only to dash them in the end. Finding Titus and bringing him back had been a pointless endeavor. She had only been a passenger in the love story between Chien and Lene. Yes, they had saved Spyra once more, and everything was good for the Spiralian people, but her. Yuna was devastated. In the end, all she could anticipate were more days spent alone without the person she loved. However, things appeared to be shifting. Following Vegnagan's defeat, the girls departed the Farplane and continued their adventures for a short while before Yuna went back to Besaid, marking the conclusion of the story. The former High Summoner had to spend the remainder of her life apart from the guy she had fallen deeply in love with. However, she didn't notice that alteration. No. Pain had managed to bring the YRP girls back together for a final excursion. At first, things had been a little bumpy, but they quickly settled back into rhythm and had some real fun. It was fantastic. Then they discovered Major Numerous, the boss, at the summit of the Udisar Tower. This man shouldn't have been an issue after defeating players like Trema and Vegnagan, right? False. As the girls battled this crazily powerful creature, they were abruptly flung through a wormhole that the beast created with its tremendous strength. They sensed something was seriously wrong as they plunged through it. Life as they knew it was going to drastically change. The Konohagakure. A 16-year-old Naruto was seen frowning while he anxiously awaited the arrival of his new Jonin sensei. Naruto was tired of waiting for the guy, who was already 2 hours late. He didn't understand why Hiruzen Sarutobi had paired him with Broodmeister Sasuke and Sakura, Sasuke's biggest fangirl. Although Sasuke was a jerk and Sakura saw anything unrelated to her beloved, Sasuke-kun, as an inconvenience or worse, Naruto had previously made an effort to be kind to them both. She then turned to striking Naruto whenever he made an effort to show her kindness. He soon started avoiding her like the plague and generally treating her badly if she pushed him too far as a result of this. He was now trapped in a chamber with Pinkyton the Triceratops and Broody McBroodpants. Well, let him rest, he was still working on nicknames. Naruto had been compelled to listen to Sakura's endless chatter for the last 2 fucking hours as she tried to get Sasuke's attention, ask him out, and other such things. Usually, Sasuke would say, HN, or ignore her. Additionally, the pink-haired bitch would turn and torment Naruto for a while, treating him like shit just to feel better, because Sasuke would not reciprocate her advances. The blonde had nearly had enough of it since it had suddenly become annoying. After a few more minutes, Naruto got up from his seat and declared, "That's it." He moved to the door, opened it, and was about to leave when Sakura's voice resurfaced. "Where do you think you're going, Baka? We're supposed to wait here for our sensei," she said to him. With a sigh, Naruto gave Sakura the finger before departing the academy and classroom. He shoved his hands in his pockets and started to go into the hamlet proper, only to blink when 3 women appeared at his feet, emerging from an odd rift in time and space. He glanced up at the sky, taking in every cloud and even the sun once, and then turned back to the females. He reached up, squeezed his left arm, and gave a single nod. "Nope. Sky's not falling. Don't see any pigs flying around either. Not dreaming either. Okay, I have just one question. What the fuck, damn it?" After examining the 3 girls, Naruto could undoubtedly conclude that they were all much more attractive than most of the other girls he had seen. He did see that they were hurt, though. He quickly made 2 shadow clones and scooped up the bare-clad brunette. Well, the blonde was bare-clad too, now that he had a clear view of her. He pushed those ideas from his mind and rushed to the hospital with the girls. "I don't know who these 3 are, nor do I know where they're from or how they got injured. All I know is they need help now. Please." Naruto rushed up to the receptionist as soon as he arrived. After taking a close look at the 3 women Naruto had brought in, the receptionist nodded in agreement and summoned some nurses to help him carry them all to a room. Naruto observed as the physicians used medical ninjutsu to treat their wounds while they were each laying in a hospital bed in a second-floor room. He questioned, "Are they going to be okay?" The chief doctor turned to Naruto and gave him a warm smile when she had completed bandaging the silver-haired teen. "They'll each be just fine." But Naruto scowled. However, Hearing it was nearly never positive. But what? Well, it's the strangest thing. None of them appear to have any chakra. And I mean that there's not even the little amount that regular civilians have to get by day to day. They've got some kind of other energy source to pull from, but it doesn't seem to be like anything we shinobi would use. It's quite strange, she clarified. Naruto scowled a little as he considered it, and then a symbolic lightbulb struck in his mind. That wormhole, if I had to bet on it, I'd say these three are from another world or something. Somewhere where chakra doesn't exist. I think Gramps needs to hear about this. He was serious. The doctor glanced at one of the nurses caring for the blonde girl and nodded. The nurse nodded, then hurried off to get the Hokage. Go and get Hokage-sama. Hurry, then vanished. In the meantime, the doctor returned to Naruto and stated, if you're right about this, then there's no telling how many worlds are out there like this one. Each of them different and unique in their own ways. I just hope we don't have to deal with too many of those strange wormholes you mentioned. I wouldn't worry about that, the silver-haired girl murmured, opening her eyes slowly. We were fighting something and lost. Its power was just too much for us. As soon as he saw the girl, the doctor asked, how do you feel now? Better, I hope. The teenager in black sat up slowly after nodding. She pointed to Naruto and said, better. Thanks. Were you the one to find us? Naruto gave a nod and stated, you kind of fell out of that wormhole thing right in front of me. I wasn't about to just leave you three there. Name's Naruto Uzumaki, by the way. Pain. The girl nodded, adding, and thanks. Naruto merely gave her a smile before turning to face the others, who were also starting to awaken. I'm glad you're all okay. An elderly man walked into the room and said, as am I. What can you tell me about this creature you encountered? Do you think it could find its way here? And could more people like you come here? After giving the elderly guy a careful glance, Pain shook her head. No, it seemed like it just wanted to be left alone. It's powerful, but I doubt it will come here to your world. The third Hokage sighed and replied, I'm afraid that we have no way to return you three to your home. Fuinjutsu might work, as the only true limit to what seals can do is how one's imagination can work. However, we only have one true Fuinjutsu master, and he's busy with his own duties. He can't really spare the time to work on a seal to send you three home. Worse yet is that he's more inclined to follow his vices instead of trying to send the three of you home. You see, he's a self-proclaimed super pervert. Chances are, he'd rather peep on you in the hot springs than do anything to help you. Facepalming himself, Hiruzen let out a groan and shook. In other words, you're stuck here. Gazing into the Hokage's eyes, Naruto scowled. Then I'll study Fuinjutsu. And before you say anything, Gramps, I know my dad was the fourth Hokage. I mean, it's kind of obvious. Don't know who my mother is, or was, but I'm sure I can figure something out if you'd let me study Fuinjutsu for a while. Hiruzen chuckled and bowed his head after his eyes expanded slightly in astonishment. I should have known you'd figure at least that much out. You're more intelligent than you let on, which is a good thing in my opinion. Come to my office after we're done here and we can discuss your parents and your inheritance. I think you'll be happy with what they left for you. The blonde laughed and replied, sounds like a plan to me, Gramps. For now though, what do we do about them? They'll need a home if they're stuck here. I'd say they could room with me, but... The elderly Hokage nodded to his surrogate grandson and, that won't be a problem. You see, something your parents left for you is their estate. There's more than enough room there for the girls to live as well. It will be safest for them too, as once Danzo learns about their existence and their unique genetic makeup, he'll definitely make a move to nab them for himself. So it will be in everyone's best interest if they were to live safely in your new home. After blushing slightly, Yuna exclaimed, wait, I'll live with him, but... Pain shook her head and moaned. She gave him a stern look and said, Yuna, it sounds like it might be for the best. I'm sure he won't try to peep on us or anything. Right, Naruto? Naruto didn't flinch as he met her eyes directly. I'm not a pervert like so many people are. Do I appreciate a woman's beauty? Yes, I do, but I don't condone peeping on a woman in their most vulnerable moments. Just make me the promise that you three won't walk around the house in your unmentionables and we'll be good. The idea of doing so made Yuna flush violently, and she hastily shook her head. I would never do such a thing. My goodness. Riku massaged the back of her head and giggled uneasily. I probably would, but I getcha. No walkie naked throughout the house. Seriously, you do that? Pain questioned, deadpanned at Riku. The vivacious blonde gave her companion an embarrassed smile and giggled a little more. Only sometimes. In frustration, Naruto shook his head and made a facepalm. If I see something like that, I blame you, miss. When someone her age called Riku, miss, she blinked. He appeared to be her age, at least. A year younger, perhaps. Riku. And that's my cousin and best friend ever. Yuna, the cutest darn summoner you've ever seen. Smile, Uni, you're on camera. She continued, dismissing her thoughts. Naruto looked from Riku to Yuna and back again, blinking. Are you hyper? Riku laughed once again and added, probably a little. Naruto just glanced at her for a bit before saying, uh-huh. With a sorrowful sigh, he shook his head and said, it's the right thing to do, after all. He turned to face Yuna and said, will you be okay living with me in my new home? If not, I'll give the estate to you three and I'll continue living in that horrible apartment. This made Riku scowl as she turned to face Yuna and awaited her answer. As the brunette remained mute, the vivacious blonde scowled and remarked, oh, come on, Uni. Naruto seems like a nice guy. I don't think there's anything to worry about. Besides, it is his parents' home. Pain looked at him and replied, if it helps any, Yuna, I don't have any objections to it. So long as he keeps his word, I don't see a problem. After giving it some thought, Yuna closed her eyes and sighed. She had hoped to live with her Titus in a house like this, but that was no longer feasible. Now, because she couldn't bear the thought of living with another guy, she was going to deprive this good-hearted young man of his proper home. Was she capable of carrying out such a plan? It had been his home, after all. She was really struggling to embrace the notion of living with another man, even while he found the prospect of not being able to live in his parents' estate to be quite depressing. What should I do, Titus? Everyone could see the tears that were forming in Yuna's eyes when she finally opened them a little. I wanted to spend time and live with Titus-kun. I can't even imagine sharing a home with another man. I can't do it. Uni, Riku muttered, sounding a little let down by her. She didn't say anything more, though, because she could see her cousin's point. Naruto nodded his head and let out a sorrowful sigh. I understand, Gramps. I assume my parents placed a seal on the gate and on their doors. Of course, Naruto-kun. You'll have to key them into the seals if you want them to live there, Hiruzen answered with a nod. The teenager with the spiky hair nodded in comprehension. He sighed once again after saying, that's easy enough to do. I can at least do that much. I'll key them in and visit every now and again so I can peruse my parents' library and learn what I can. For the time being, I guess I'm stuck in that apartment. The room's occupants observed Naruto leaving with a dejected expression on his face. According to Pain, that was cold of you, Yuna. Yuna winced but said nothing. After what she had just done, she didn't have the energy to speak. Hiruzen scowled in dismay before giving Yuna a fierce look. Before leaving the room with a disappointed shake of his head, he said, I hope you understand that he only wants to help you. He's giving up what's his by right so you three can be safe and happy. For now, I'll have my Anbu keep an eye on you to ensure nothing happens. I need to speak with Naruto-kun. Riku merely whispered her cousin's name while scowling at her. She was at a loss for what to do. Naruto. Nearly immediately after leaving the hospital, Naruto was confronted by a silver-haired man who was staring at him with an odd expression of disappointment, contempt, and rage. And just where the hell have you been? We've been waiting for a few hours now. Naruto merely gazed apathetically into the man's single eye. So you must be our supposed sensei. Listen, if you had simply bothered to show up on time, I might have respected you enough to participate. But no, you decided to make us wait for 2 hours, probably even longer. I've got better things to do than wait for some asshole that can't bother to give two shits about his team. I'm not in the mood to deal with this shit, so get out of my way and leave me alone. Glaring at the youngster, Kakashi was about to touch him when he felt a great wave of murderous intent pass over him. He turned to face whoever it was that was weakening him, and the third Hokage was coming toward them. Kakashi, I am disappointed in you. When I agreed to assign Naruto-kun and the others to your team, I expected you to be punctual and treat them with the respect they'd give you as a man of your position. You promised me you'd look after your team and train them well. I see now that I was wrong to place my trust in you. Come along, Naruto-kun, we should talk in my office. Kakashi, I expect you to explain to your other two genin why you will no longer be accepting the role of their Jonin sensei. You can't do this to me. I'm the only one who can train Sasuke in the use of his Sharingan. remarked the cycloptic Jonin, with a frown. Disappointed, Hiruzen shook his head. Is that all you care about? What about Sakura? What about your sensei's son? Sakura is a hopeless fangirl that would be cannon fodder at best. Naruto isn't ready to be a shinobi of Konoha. At best, he'd be a good motivator for Sasuke to get better and improve. Kakashi replied dismissively. Naruto gave Kakashi a menacing glance but remained silent. Once more, Hiruzen shook his head in disappointment and said, and that's exactly why I can't let you be the sensei of a team. I had high hopes for you, Kakashi. Such a shame. The elderly Hokage looked at Naruto and gave him a shoulder pat before saying, come along Naruto. I think I've got an idea for a new team that I think you might like. The two then left Kakashi to glare at Naruto's retreating back. Hokage's office. After some time, Hiruzen glanced at Naruto and nodded his head as Yuna, Riku, and Pain were led into the office. He looked to one area in the room knowingly and said, now that you three are here, it's time I show you to your new home. We have a lot to discuss, and I don't feel this is the place to do it. I suspect that there's unwelcome visitors in my office. Hiruzen eventually shook his head, got up from his seat, and gestured for them to follow him. He looked down at Naruto as they were walking and said, I want you to be careful, Naruto-kun. I wouldn't put it past Danzo to try something soon to get at what's rightfully yours. He's done some horrible things to satisfy his desires. Naruto let out a sigh and briefly stroked the back of his head. Yeah, I get that. Sounds like a real scumbag. Oh well, just another thing I gotta watch out for. Anyways, you said something before about a new team. I don't really care, but I'm curious about something. What's going to happen to Sasuke and Sakura? The elderly third Hokage gently stroked his beard before uttering, chances are, Sakura will be sent back to the academy. As for Sasuke, if the councils have their way, they'd have Kakashi take him on as an apprentice. As Kakashi said, he's the only one who can really teach Sasuke about the Sharingan. However, I don't plan to let them have their way. I think I have just the person to beat Sasuke into shape and snap Sakura out of her fangirl ways. I just hate to pull him away from his duties. You're talking about assigning Ibiki to them, aren't you? Remarked Naruto in a deadpan tone. Hiruzen laughed as he said, you're correct. You have to admit, he'd be an effective instructor for those two, plus whoever I choose to be their third team member. You, on the other hand, will be forming a different team with a good friend of yours as your Jonin sensei. I think she'll enjoy teaching you. Now that he knew who the Hokage was referring to, the blonde's eyes practically glistened. Anko-chan, that'll be awesome, but wait, who will be my team members? Pain let out a sigh upon realizing what was going on. He means to put the three of us on a team with you, Naruto. Hiruzen gave the young woman a smile and gave her a single affirmative nod. Pain is correct, Naruto-kun. I just hope there won't be any tension between you and them, especially considering. As they got closer to his parents' house, Naruto closed his eyes and groaned. He opened his eyes once more and asked, are you okay with such an arrangement? I'm fine with it, but why exactly do you want us to be on a team together, Hokage-sama? We know nothing about this world, Yuna said, turning her gaze from Naruto to the Hokage. Hiruzen just grinned at her and replied, that's precisely why. You three need to learn more about the world you're in and see the sights so you know what to expect. Of course, I wouldn't send you on missions outside of the village for a while, preferably at least a month. I plan to give you three a number of books to read that will reveal to you all the history of our world and information on the other nations so you'll hopefully know what to expect. But, looking at Naruto, the Hokage sighed and, I want Naruto-kun to have some friends around his age. He's been ostracized enough and deserves to have some kind of positive interaction with at least somebody. The Ichirakus are kind enough, but that's partly because Naruto is a good source of revenue for them with how often he eats there. No, he needs you three, just as I'm sure you three need him. So please look after one another. Riku rejoiced and threw her fist in the air before Yuna could respond. Of course we'll do it. Isn't that right, girls? Pain only nodded her head and grinned. They noticed that Yuna appeared rather apprehensive. I accept, she said after a time, nodding her head, but we'll work with Naruto and do what we can to help. Naruto shook his head and let out a sigh. I know, no living together. Just let me come here and look through my parents' things and study what I can. I'll leave you alone otherwise. Riku scowled at this, but she said nothing, preferring to just follow Yuna's example. Instead, Yuna remarked, I'm sorry, but I just can't. while reaching up and briefly massaging her left arm. Naruto stepped up to the gate and smeared some of his blood on it, saying, "It's fine. Let's just get in there and see what it's like." Before the gate opened and the girls were able to enter the compound, they were initially perplexed. Excitedly, Riku said, "Okay, what was that? That was nifty." With a quiet laugh, Hiruzen trailed behind Naruto, taking a key out of his pocket and handing it to him so he could unlock the door. That's what is known as a blood seal. Using such a thing can provide quite the powerful locking mechanism. Blood seals are attuned in such a way that they will only recognize the blood of those keyed into the seal to begin with. In this case, Naruto-kun's parents ensured that the blood seals on the gate and the doors and windows would only recognize their blood and that of their sons, once they learned Kushina was pregnant. Blood seals have multiple purposes like that. Now, let's get inside so we can discuss things. After giving a nod, the girls trailed Hiruzen and Naruto into the spacious residence. Once they were inside, they proceeded to the living room and sat down to discuss things that were better spoken behind closed doors. "I want to know a few things from you three. You do not possess chakra. Rather, you possess a different kind of energy. I want to know whatever you can tell me about where you're from, what your people could do with this energy source, and whatever other information you can give me. I understand if there's certain things you would rather not talk about, but I'm willing to put my trust in you, so I hope you can show me the same kind of trust and confide in me." For a minute, Yuna scowled as she considered what they ought to say to the elderly guy. She eventually nodded and started telling the elderly Hokage everything. She informed him about the Utisur Tower, summoners, Sin, Shuyin, Vegnagan, and everything else. "Did I leave anything out?" she said, glancing at Riku and Pain after she was done. "Besides the fact you failed to mention Titus and how the faith totally fooled you." "Nah, you got pretty much everything." Riku laughed. Gazing directly into Yuna's eyes, Hiruzen inquired, "This Titus, he was special to you? You barely made any mention of him throughout your story. From the sounds of it, this Titus played a key role in everything. What aren't you telling me?" "I really don't want to talk about him right now. Suffice it to say, he was special to me. And he was ripped away from me unfairly. That's all I'll say right now," the former High Summoner stated tragically, shaking her head. According to Naruto, fair enough. I don't see any point in pressuring her about it. Do you, Gramps? Hiruzen merely gave the brunette a grandfatherly look while shaking his head. "I'll keep your secret. Thank you for confiding in me as much as you have. For the time being, all I'll ask of you is that you don't try to keep Naruto-kun from accessing his family's scrolls, notes, books, everything they left for him. You may be staying in this house now, but that doesn't give you the right to keep Naruto-kun from what is rightfully his. Do we have an understanding?" Before she said, "I had never planned to keep him from what's rightfully his. I just can't, not after what happened." Yuna and the other YRP members nodded. "Uni," Riku uttered in sorrow. After giving an understanding nod, Naruto got to his feet. Before leaving the house to choose what he would study, he stated, "I'll just grab a few things to study and then I'll be out of your hair. Enjoy your stay." Hiruzen rose up and headed for the door after saying, "I hope you know that this decision hurts him. I hope that, with enough time, you'll come to accept the idea of allowing him to live in this house with you. Naruto-kun will get you girls keyed into the gates, so all you'll need to do is swipe a bit of blood across the gate and door so you can come and go as you please. I'll send someone in the morning to guide you to your team's designated training ground. Your sensei may be eccentric, but she's one of the most talented kunoichi in the village." The girls turned as they saw Naruto re-enter the room after watching Hiruzen leave the residence. Yuna flinched at the lifeless stare in his eyes as he turned to face them. Ignoring Naruto, Pain remarked, "Hokage-sama said you could key us into the seals." With a nod, Naruto gestured for them to extend their hands. When they did, he pricked one finger with each of 3 kunai. Then he strolled around to each seal and keyed each lady into it using what little he knew about seals. At last, he proceeded to the gate and completed preparing everything for them. Without waiting, he turned and left to head back to his apartment, saying, "It's done. If that's all, I'll be going now." He was frustrated and it was difficult, but he was doing his best to cope. Yuna and the others returned to their new home after Naruto left. Pain left to go and relax without saying anything to Yuna. For a while, Riku only looked at Uni until she made the decision to go sleep as well. But Yuna interrupted her as she turned to go. "I've really hurt him, haven't I?" Without saying another word, Riku turned to her best friend and said, yeah. But I doubt he hates you or anything, Uni. No, never mind. Good night, Uni. She then left to choose her own sleeping quarters. Yuna shook her head and scowled pitifully. Titus. The following day, Enko began, all right kiddos, but stopped when she saw that the 4 individuals in front of her weren't actually kids. She was aware that she was 8 years older than Naruto, who was 16. The other 3, though, appeared to be rather older, possibly approaching her age. You know, now that I think on it, how old are you 3 exactly? Pain only grinned, Riku laughed, and Yuna flushed with shame. I'm 17, Uni's 19 and Pain's 18, though it is getting close to Uni's birthday, which means she'll be 20 in a few months. Riku stated, raising her hand in the air, after deciding she would respond on behalf of the group. Riku, you don't need to tell them that, cried the brunette, more flushed than before. I'm the youngest on the team, Naruto said after blinking a few times. Enko laughed as she said, dang. I'm only 24, you girls aren't that much younger than me, are ya? This should be fun. Anyways, I got the gist of things from Hokage-sama. Told me what I needed to know as well as the usual spiel. I've already decided I'll pass all of you, so there's no need to worry about some stupid test. That crap's pretty much all a formality anyways. So congrats, we're a team. Now, I want to see what you all can do, so let's head into my private training ground and have some fun. Naruto blinked repeatedly as he attempted to comprehend the events that had just transpired. His eyes widened in realization as he asked, wait, formality, the clan heirs and heiresses, they were going to be passed anyways, weren't they? After a few moments, he said, what? That's it, no test or anything, I was prepared for some huge exam you'd have us do. I know the other teams are probably going through a test as well, but... The snake mistress turned to face Naruto and gave him a critical glance. You're pretty smart, Naruto. A lot smarter than I was led to believe by people. Been hiding your true skills or something? Kind of had to. Didn't want to upstage the Uchiha prodigy and get the crap kicked out of me because the demon was getting too strong or something, the spiky-haired teenager replied after giving a single nod. Enko gave him a sorrowful smile and nodded. Makes sense. Anyways, yeah, you're right. The councils would never have let Sasuke fail, so they chose to have a certain Jonin in their pocket, convincing him to pass his team no matter what. Konoha prides itself on its teamwork above all else. We stick with teams to get the job done and watch each other's backs. That Uchiha runt doesn't get the concept of teamwork though and would sooner sacrifice his comrades to save himself than he would save somebody else at the risk of his own life. The people have pampered him so much that he thinks the world of himself. That fangirl and you would have just been along for the ride. Then there's the other teams. Kurenai would have passed her team anyways, if only to keep that Hyuga girl close. Asuma, on the other hand, is almost as lazy as the Nara clan and would have easily passed his team without a care in the world. You 4 though, there's something special about you and I'm looking forward to bringing that potential forth and showing the world what you can do. That and I want to brag about how awesome my team is when you all kick butt in the upcoming Chunin exams. This is gonna be fun. Enko exclaimed, then burst into laughter as she led to the forest of death. Is she always like this? She's a little strange, Yuna said as they followed her, glancing at Naruto. Oh, you have no idea. Enko-chan's awesome. I think you'll enjoy getting to know her, Naruto remarked with a laugh. Smirking, Pain remarked, I already like her. She seems interesting. Laughing, the youngster with the whiskers remarked, I knew I was going to like you. After giving them a sly smile, Riku remarked, enough flirting you two, it looks like Anko-sensei wants our attention. Naruto looked away, blushing slightly. He answered angrily, wasn't flirting. He just laughed and replied, yeah you were. Now, enough of that. Here's what we're gonna do. There's a bunch of huge beasties of all sorts roaming this forest. What I want you to do is get in there and fight a bunch of them. I want to see what you're all capable of, so hold nothing back. And don't worry about killing them, they breed like rabbits in here. No idea why, but whatever. So cut loose and have some fun. I'll be watching, so make sure to put on a good show ladies and gent. Have fun. Follow me, I've been in here before, so I know a few good places to start us off. Naruto laughed a little before turning to face the girls and said, I think you'll enjoy Dr. Grizzly. He's a big guy and fun to play with. Let's try not to kill him though, okay. I like him. With a simple nod, the girls trailed Naruto as he ventured farther into the forest of death. The girls were a little taken aback by the bear's size when they arrived at Dr. Grizzly's house. It loomed above them, and they could tell it had been through a lot of combat because of the scars on its face and torso. Its left eye was actually gone, with a severe scar running diagonally through the eye's former location. Then Pain scowled at it and said, "Why is it called Dr. Grizzly?" After shrugging, Naruto remarked, "I dunno. That's just the name that's been given to him. He doesn't seem to mind it." To the surprise of the females, the bear appeared to sigh in exhaustion as it gazed down at Naruto. Naruto merely waved up at Dr. Grizzly and smiled at him. "Hey there again, big guy. You're not still sore about last time, are you?" As she and the other girls watched Naruto and the bear interact, Riku asked uncertainly, "Last time?" The bear gave Naruto another glance, growled softly, and then made a mediocre motion with its right paw. Observing this, the blonde sighed and said, "Look, I'm sorry about what happened. How was I supposed to know that she'd do that to you? I thought I was hooking you up with a nice Mrs. Bear, but no. You just had to go and upset her. It's your own damn fault that she did that to you. Now, man up and let's have a friendly spar, for old time's sake. The girls and I need to show our stuff to our new sensei, and I was hoping you'd cooperate with us and give us a good fight. Boo it, if you don't want to, we can always go to Spider-Man, does whatever a Spider-Man can. Or we could always go and look for Toucan Sam. No idea why a giant wasp is called that, but we make do with what we've got." As they listened to Naruto's talk with Dr. Grizzly, the YRP girls could only blink incredulously. Yuna questioned, "Are you girls just as confused as I am?" Yuna was relieved to hear that she wasn't alone as they both replied, "Yep." Dr. Grizzly eventually looked at the three females, almost as if he was gauging their level of threat. Naruto shouted and turned to face the three young ladies when the bear eventually nodded and returned his attention. "All right, he says he'll spar with us for a while. So let's give Anko-sensei a good show." Riku approached Naruto and gazed up at the enormous bear. "I have no idea what that was all about, but you seem to get along well with these animals. It's neat-o." As she sphere shifted into her gunner dress sphere, Pain approached with a sly smile. "This should be fun." Yuna transformed into the white mage dress sphere and moved up beside Naruto. "Ready when you are." High above them, Anko couldn't help but chuckle to herself as they all prepared for war. "I promise you won't ever get old, Naruto-kun." Gazing at the harm they had individually inflicted on his friend, Dr. Grizzly, Naruto blinked in disbelief. He had demonstrated his abilities and gotten his licks in, but the girls. It still seemed odd to him that Pain had used that gun of hers to shoot his friend full of holes. Riku had repeatedly sliced his companion, leaving his body covered in severe wounds. The only person who did not engage in actual combat was Yuna. Rather, she kept everyone healthy while they fought the powerful bear. Naruto gave Dr. Grizzly a gentle pet as he lay on the ground in excruciating pain, then turned to face Yuna. "Can you please heal him now? He's in terrible pain." With a nod, the former summoner cast Karaga on the unfortunate creature, causing all of its wounds to be healed. The poor animal might die on them, and she wanted to be extra sure of it. As its wounds mended and it appeared to be fully recovered, she grinned at Naruto and remarked, "He should be fine now." Naruto turned to face Dr. Grizzly and grinned after saying, "Thank you, Yuna." "How do you feel now, buddy?" the bear asked, getting back up and glancing briefly between Naruto and the girls. After a while, he gave Naruto a nod before leaving and vanishing into the forest's shadows. "Sue, how'd we do?" said Naruto, turning around as he felt Anko land behind him. Anko looked at Naruto and replied, "Well, despite not getting to see much from you, I can tell already that I'm going to need to get you a proper taijutsu form. Right now, you're pretty much just a straight-on brawler. I'll try to look into some kind of style for you, but before that, I think I'll teach you my style, just so you have something to fall back on should you need it. Other than that, I noticed that you can create an insane number of shadow clones. That's a good thing. It means we can really speed up your training. You do know what I'm talking about, right?" Naruto smiled and replied, "The memories of the shadow clones get transferred back to the original upon dispelling, yes. When I was studying the shadow clone technique from the Scroll of Seals, I made sure that I fully understood the jutsu before practicing it. Unfortunately, while I'm sure the shadow clones can transfer information on various taijutsu styles, I'd personally need to practice with them. On top of that, Any physical training exercises, such as building up my muscle mass, would have to be done by me. While shadow clones could transfer their memories on a variety of things to me, there's certain things they just cannot do. Good. Glad to see you paid attention, Naruto-kun. We're going to get you started on some important chakra control exercises that will come in handy throughout your ninja career. Rather than try one at a time, I'm going to make you practice both at once so you get double the experience. Yay, express points. Level up, Anko exclaimed as she raised her fist in the air. After blinking a few times in bewilderment, Naruto saw that the YRP girls were turning away and blushing a little from what Anko had said. He immediately palmed his face and said, I have no idea what's going on anymore, as he stared between them and Anko. Anko blinked a few times, as though she was just now becoming aware of what she had said and done. While coughing with her fist, she quickly responded, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me there. Looking at Naruto, she replied, anyways, as I was saying, you'll be learning water walking and tree climbing at the same time. Well, your shadow clones will be doing the work for you there. I'll have you studying with me in my taijutsu style. Once you're proficient in that and I'm satisfied with your progress, I'll get you started on a style more suited to your fighting style. As for your shadow clones, once they've mastered those 2 chakra control exercises, I'll start some of them on different control exercises, while the others will practice in elemental manipulation exercises. Course, we've gotta figure out your chakra nature first. We'll do that when I feel it's time. I have no idea what to say about you girls. Yuna, your healing magic is incredible. Can all 3 of you do that? The snake mistress remarked, turning to face the girls. Yuna nodded and replied, yes. You see, we use these things called garment grids and dress spheres. Each garment grid is unique and offers bonuses to things such as our strength and speed, to our intellect, thus making our spells more powerful. As for the dress spheres, each one is unique and grants us different abilities. For instance, if we were to switch to the gun mage dress sphere, we can fire magical bullets at our enemies. At the same time, we can target pretty much anything's weakness with special bullet techniques. Finally, we can use something called blue magic to use the abilities of certain foes. We've learned a variety of abilities from the enemies we've come across in the past. With a real interest in the possibility, Anko asked, I see. Sounds incredibly useful. Do you think Naruto-kun and I could make use of these dress spheres? The brunette nodded her head and replied, yes, I'm positive you can. We have spare garment grids, and we've got numerous copies of each dress sphere, so you both can make use of them if you want. But, after a moment of staring at Naruto, she replied, I'm not sure what will happen if Naruto tries to use them. Dress spheres have been primarily used by women, or more specifically, us. I'm not sure what would happen if a male tried to make use of the dress spheres. Naruto sighed and replied, well, you'll never know if you don't try it out, right? Might as well test it out, especially if we're going to be an effective team. But, if you're uncomfortable with me having anything to do with you and your abilities, I'll stick to good old shinobi techniques. You've already made it quite clear that you're not comfortable so much as being near me, after all. Yuna winced at this, but she didn't dispute his argument. Is there anything else you'd like to know, Anko-sensei? She inquired, glancing at Anko instead of apologizing. Not even going to try and deny it, huh? Anko asked with a deep scowl. She shook her head in dismay and gave Yuna a direct look. How many of these dress spheres are there? The different ones, I mean. And what do they all specialize in exactly? I need to know everything you can tell me about each of them so I know what to expect and what I can do to help you girls improve. Before she took over the explanation, Riku swiftly completed the calculation in her mind. 16 different dress spheres in total. Unless, of course, you count the special dress spheres, which are unique to the 3 of us. Yuni's got floral follow, I've got Machina Ma, and Pain's got full throttle. Only we can use those, though. This is when Pain took control. The first dress sphere to talk about would be Gunner. It's the dress sphere you normally see Yuna in, and it's the one I changed before we fought Dr. Grizzly. As the name implies, we make use of special machines called guns. Gunners have access to a special rapid-fire attack called Trigger Happy. Using it, we can fire off dozens of shots at a time, though the individual attacks during Trigger Happy deal slightly less damage than a regular attack would. Riku responded by stating, then there's Thief. That's the dress sphere I normally use. Thieves can slip past an enemy's guard and go pilfer, snatching items from the enemies before striking them down with these lovely daggers. Pain switched back to her usual dress sphere and showed Anko her sword, saying, "Then there's Warrior." Warriors wield swords, like this one. She liked the design, Anko had to admit. Warriors are frontline fighters and deal some good damage. However, their main purpose is to absorb blows and protect the other party members. They make use of a special ability known as Sentinel to brace themselves and reduce any damage dealt to them to an insignificant amount. At this, Yuna spoke up. Songstress is the next dress sphere. Songstresses can't attack. Their main focus is supporting party members through the use of songs or dances. While dancing, they can do a variety of things such as blinding their foes, preventing them from casting spells or using other abilities, etc. And their songs can increase various attributes of their party members. This includes buffing their strength so they deal more damage, increasing their speed, etc. Next up is Festivalist. That's a rather unique dress sphere. It varies depending on the user. For example, my weapons are a bag of fish and cotton candy. Riku giggled. I know, it's weird, but we each get to do a bunch of different things. It's kinda fun. And when we're really hurting bad, these two abilities known as SOS Regen and SOS Wall kick in. Regen is basically an auto-heal spell that heals us gradually over time. Wall casts spells known as Shell and Protect on us. Shell lowers the damage we receive from enemy spells and abilities, or in your guy's case, these jutsu thingies. Protect lowers the physical damage we receive. Pretty neat stuff, huh? Pain raised his voice once more. Next is Psychic. Not sure what the equivalent would be in this world. Naruto intervened and stated, the Yamanaka clan are similar to psychics. We've got typical scam artists fooling people into believing they have psychic abilities. But the closest thing to actual psychics we have in Konoha is the Yamanaka clan. We'll explain the clans in detail later. Please continue, Pain-chan. After giving a grateful nod, the silver-haired warrior went on to explain. Anyways, psychics use their abilities to attack enemies with blasts of psychic energy. Using telekinesis, they can instantly kill an enemy, they are that powerful. It doesn't always work, but it sure is useful. They're also immune to most elemental attacks and even absorb said elements to restore their health. Anko asked, sounds like a pretty useful dress sphere. So what's next? This is when Yuna took over. Black Mage is the next dress sphere. They can't attack in the traditional sense. Instead, they can cast a variety of attack spells, such as Faraga or Blizzaga. And when their mana pool gets low, they can use an ability called MP Absorb to drain an enemy's mana pool to restore their own. Yuna went on, White Mage is what you saw me using earlier. Again, White Mages can't attack. Instead, they focus on keeping the party healed. It's really as simple as that. Pain remarked, Gun Mage, we described before. Gun mages wield magic guns that fire magic bullets to deal more damage to an enemy than Gunner would. On top of that, they have the ability to use Scan, which allows them to learn detailed information about their opponents. Of course, they can also use Fiend Hunter abilities to deal massive damage to a variety of opponents, such as reptiles and lupins. When Riku said, Dark Knights up next. With excitement. Dark Knights are basically powerhouses. They're immune to most status effects, such as being poisoned or confused. They can also use an ability called Darkness that deals massive damage in exchange for a bit of your health. While it sounds kinda bad, we made good use of that in the Alchemist dress sphere to kill Angra Mainyu. That thing was a toughie. Angra Mainyu, Anko asked after blinking a few times. Pain nodded her head and said, we'll explain later sometime. Continuing on, the next dress sphere is Berserker. As the name implies, we have the ability to go berserk and go into a full-on battle frenzy. We don't stop attacking until the enemy is dead. Berserkers also have auto-regen, which ensures that we're always regaining health. Riku giggled for a moment before she said, Alchemist is the next one. That's one of my absolute favorites. The main ability of an alchemist is the ability to mix various items together to create one super big awesome thingy of happiness. Some mixtures heal everybody. Others unleash some seriously powerful attacks, it all depends on what you combine together. It's fun. Yuna blushed slightly as she said, then comes Lady Luck. The outfits are so revealing for that one. Softly sighing, she nodded and continued, Lady Luck uses large, razor-sharp playing cards to deal damage. They can use bribe to pay a sum of money to the enemy to convince them to leave while handing over an item of some kind. They can also use a variety of gambling abilities such as 4 dice and random reels. 4 dice pretty much does exactly what it implies. We roll 4 large dice, and depending on the number, the enemy receives invisible blows depending on the number. So say you roll a 16. The enemy would then take 16 hits that deal varying amounts of damage. Riku laughed and continued, the next one is Trainer. Trainer is another unique one in the fact that we each get a different pet. For instance, I have a monkey friend named Geeky. We each get to use different abilities depending on the pet we have. One of the most useful abilities shared by each of us is HP Stroll. With that, as long as we're in that dress sphere and we walk around, we regain health. Pretty nice, huh? Pain asked. Next up is Samurai. I assume you have samurai here in your world. Yep, the majority of this world's samurai live in the land of iron, but there are some that guard daimyos and the like. Naruto clarified. The answer from Pain was, good to know. Anyways, samurais are able to use a variety of abilities, such as throwing money at our enemies to deal damage. The more money you throw, the more damage is dealt. They're also able to use an ability called Shin Zantetsu to instantly kill enemies. Though, there is a chance it will fail. Finally is Mascot. That one's pretty embarrassing. But as with Festivalist and Trainer, it varies depending on the user. One thing that's shared between them is 3 different abilities. Ribbon, Auto Shell, and Auto Protect. You already know what Shell and Protect do, so I'll skip over those. Ribbon prevents us from being inflicted with any status ailments at all, such as poison or petrification. Yuna clarified. Sounds like they're all useful in their own, different ways. Enko replied. What about those special dress spheres of yours? Yuna blushed once more and replied, mine's revealing. But the special dress spheres are so powerful that the other 2 usually have to back away and let the one using the special dress sphere fight. They can deal tremendous damage, have impressive defense and intellect, and are immune to status ailments as well. Using special dress spheres, we have a wide variety of abilities at our disposal. My right pistol is able to cast various buffs, while my left pistol can deal damage and inflict status ailments on the enemy. In other words, if we want a decisive victory, the special dress spheres are the way to go. Enko nodded her head in comprehension and remarked, I see. Sounds like those could come in handy. She showed them her curse mark and said, I'm wondering if any of those dress spheres can get rid of this mark on my neck. My old sensei placed this on me and left me to rot afterwards. It pisses me off and I can't stand this damn thing. I can sense something evil coming from that thing. Give me a moment, I want to try something, Yuna stated, frowning at it. They observed Yuna touching her mark after switching to her psychic dress sphere. What's she doing? Enko inquired, glancing at the others. Enko just nodded her head and waited patiently to see what Yuna could achieve after Riku held up a finger and murmured, shush. Just wait. Within the mark of curse. Through her visor, Yuna peered at the pallid, snake-like man who was concealed inside the seal. She questioned, what are you doing inside the mark? With a faint frown. Curious, the man raised an eyebrow and peered up and down at the intruder. You shouldn't be in here. What are you doing here? I asked you first. It would seem you're torturing poor Enko-sensei. You're the source of the evil I felt, aren't you? The brunette remarked with a scowl. How perceptive of you. Yes, I am a part of Orochimaru, or rather, I am him. Orochimaru's soul fragment laughed and said, do be gone, the sight of you makes me retch. After shaking her head and raising her palm while concentrating on her telekinetic powers, Yuna said, be gone demon, and destroyed the soul fragment using her telekinesis power. She then backed away to her own body and almost collapsed backwards. As she assisted Yuna in standing, Riku asked, Yuni, what did you find? A man, he looked like a snake. Said he was a piece of Orochimaru. I destroyed the soul fragment, but I don't know if that's enough to help, the brunette remarked, shaking her head. Enko gripped the mark painfully. It began to disappear, but she could still feel it burning her skin. She noticed that the curse mark was no longer there when it finally ceased. The snake mistress grinned broadly, threw herself onto her butt, and exclaimed, thank you. Thank you so much. Naruto scowled as he peered over her neck. It's left a nasty burn. Are you sure you're okay, Enko-chan? The snake mistress gave him a smile and a nod. A little burn's a small price to pay for getting that hickey of doom off of me. But Yuna changed to her white mage dress sphere, thinking she would inquire if they could heal it, and then she healed Enko to make it less painful. Is that better? At this point, Naruto made the decision to speak. He sighed pitifully, looked into each YRP girl's eyes, and said, thanks, but that's not what we're worried about. Enko-chan and I are ostracized in the village. They call her names like snake slut, and demon whore, and other various insults. They've tried to hurt her like they do me, but Anko's tougher than I am. She fought back and made sure her attackers paid for it, which is a damn good thing, because some of them wanted to, too. When they realized what he was about to say, Anko nodded her head and replied, yes, they tried to rape me. Some assholes have even tried to drug me before, but I wasn't falling for that shit. Point is, even though I'm rid of the curse mark now, they'll still treat me like that simply because I'm the ex-student of Orochimaru of the Sannin. Orochimaru's one of the village's biggest traitors and a real scumbag. You see, he performed a number of illegal experiments on people. Turned a lot of people into grotesque monstrosities and killed countless others in his science experiments. He was chased out of the village, but he only got away because the third Hokage is a soft fool that couldn't bring himself to kill his favorite student. Anko sighed in exasperation and went on. I was recovered from a lab in the land of the sea. I was abandoned with no real memory of what happened to me. The Anbu recovered me and brought me back to the village, where I was quickly labeled as a potential traitor of the village, simply because I was a student of that snake. I don't have it quite as bad as Naruto-kun here, but it's still no walk in the park. How can he possibly have it worse than nearly being raped? That's horrible, Yuna scowled. It was not lost on Riku, Pain, and Anko that Naruto frowned at Yuna. I think I'm going to go home and study my parents' scrolls and Fuinjutsu books for a while, Anko-chan. The blonde got back up and turned to face Anko. I'll see you tomorrow for training and missions. Naruto then left without turning to face the four women. After he left, Anko got to his feet and gave Yuna a fierce look. Nice going, girly. I'm not permitted to tell you everything, but just know he has it worse than I do. I'm not kidding about that. She replied with some rage. You girls are dismissed for the day. Go enjoy the home you robbed from him. Yuna winced as she saw Anko vanish back toward the forest's entrance. Unable to speak, Riku cast a sorrowful glance at her cousin. Pain responded by saying, Yuna, that was insensitive of you. We don't know everything about Naruto yet. I get that you don't trust him, and I understand why you refused to let him live with us, but if we're going to be on a team with him, you need to try and understand him and at least try to form a bond of some kind. I highly doubt he wants to try and replace Titus. But you're making things incredibly difficult. The brunette, obviously distressed by what had just transpired, watched Pain go. She said, Did I really screw up that badly? While glancing at Riku. Before she and Yuna began to follow Pain, Riku remarked, Yuni, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I can't lie to you either. I'll just say that you should try and get to know Naruto-kun a bit better. It might be for the best. Yuna murmured, I feel like, if I get to know Naruto on a more personal level, if I choose to live with him, if I do anything at all like that, I'll be betraying Titus. I can't do it. Yuni, the bubbly blonde looked at her cousin and replied directly, Titus isn't coming back. The faith tricked you. They used you, led you and us around by the nose, fooling us into saving the world again. And then at the end, psych, no Titus for you. I know it's hard for you to accept, and I know you're holding out hope that we can return home, but you need to face the facts here, Yuni. Titus is gone and he's never coming back. There's nothing we can do about that. It sucks. It really sucks. I know, because I cared a lot about him too. Titus was cool, but he was never like us. He was a dream of the faith, and they chose to rip him away from you. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. The gunner shook her head negatively as tears began to fall down her cheeks. You don't know that for sure. He could be waiting for me back at home. Riku had had enough and turned to give Yuna a face smack. No, Yuni, even if we found a way home, Titus won't be there. He never really existed to begin with. I refuse to let you delude yourself. No matter what it takes, I'll get you to see the truth. You can't betray someone that's already gone. Yuna's eyes started to well up with tears, and all she could do was look at Riku in disbelief. Riku could hear Yuna crying the whole time as she ran ahead. Yuni. Anko. Anko looked directly into the Hokage's eyes and questioned, are you really sure putting them on a team together was the right decision? They were awaiting the arrival of the other Jonin senseis to declare the success or failure of their squads. Anko simply had to ask the inquiry while she waited. Naruto and Yuna aren't getting along too well, are they? Questioned Hiruzen with a frown. That's an understatement. Naruto-kun is trying to get along with her, despite the fact she pretty much stole the home his parents lived in and left for him. He's doing the best he can. But Yuna, fuck that girl, damn it. She can't seem to see the fact that Naruto's suffering inside. He's angry, he's upset, and he's feeling more than just a tad resentful of her right now. And she's only making things worse. Riku and Pain would make a pretty good team for him, but Yuna. I don't know, Hokage-sama. It's a powder keg just waiting to explode between them. Anko clarified. The third gave a sympathetic nod. I understand what you're saying, Anko-chan. However, I truly believe that if anyone can help Yuna through whatever kind of funk she's in, it would be Naruto-kun. Give it a chance. However, if things don't improve between them in a few months, I want you to tell me. I'd like Naruto-kun to have a fair shot in the Chunin exams, and if it turns out that he can't work with Yuna, I'd like to know so we can figure something else out. Anko scowled, but she gave a sympathetic nod. All right, Hokage-sama. But I'm tired of seeing Naruto-kun hurt. She's being rather insensitive towards him and it's frustrating as hell to try and deal with. I'll give her a chance, but something better happened to knock some damn sense into her. What the hell's her problem, anyway? Hiruzen shook his head and moaned. I'm not entirely certain, but her problems seem to revolve around a man named Titus. I haven't been informed of what exactly transpired between the two of them, but it's obviously she cared for this man. It sounds to me as if he was taken from her unfairly. The snake mistress laughed and added, she needs to get over herself if that's the case. I get that she's lost a loved one, but for fuck's sake. She's taking it out on Naruto-kun and it pisses me off. Hiruzen gave a sad nod, but the other Jonin senseis filed into the room before he could respond. He shifted into business mode after examining each of them, saying, starting with Team 1, report whether your team passes or fails. Begin. Ibiki Morino got ready to speak after the Jonin senseis for teams 1 to 6 declared that their teams had failed. But as soon as he opened his mouth, a well-known Jonin with gray hair entered through the open door. I hope I'm not late, he added with a smile as he approached the front of the room. With a frown, the Hokage said to Kakashi, and what do you think you're doing here, Hatake? You are not the sensei of any team. The councils have deemed it appropriate that I take over as Team 7's sensei. Do you really want to go against their orders? Kakashi asked, squinting at the Hokage. Everyone in the room was stunned when Hiruzen's enormous killing intent ignited, knocking Kakashi to his knees. He got up slowly and approached Kakashi. How dare you go behind my back and try to get them involved? I have had it with you and your arrogance, Kakashi Hatake. Seeing as you are unworthy of it, I'll be confiscating the Sharingan you hold so dear. Think of this as your punishment for daring to go against me. Kakashi attempted to force himself to move as his eye enlarged in fear. But he wasn't even able to stand by himself. He had no choice but to watch as Hiruzen tore off his headband, tossed it away, and then, without hesitation, tore Obito's Sharingan from his skull. Kakashi let out a cry of pain and swore with all his might at the Hokage. Hiruzen grinned as two Anbu materialized at his sides and he snapped his fingers. Take this to the hospital and make sure to preserve it. Don't let a single one of those idiots touch it. I've got a special plan for that eye. He handed the Sharingan to Anbu Cat, also known as Yugao Azuki. And you, he pointed at the other Anbu, take Kakashi to the prison and lose the damn key. I don't want him to ever see the light of day again. Both Anbu nodded and went off to fulfill his orders, the second Anbu vanishing along with Kakashi. Hiruzen moved back around his desk and sat down again after they had left. He waved to Ibiki, looking intently at the rest of the Jonin, and murmured, report. Ibiki shook his head and moaned. I'm honestly not sure whether to pass my team or not. The Uchiha is an arrogant son of a bitch. He's full of himself and thinks himself better than everyone else. Sasuke doesn't understand the concept of teamwork and treats his teammates as if they are beneath him. Sakura is a diehard fangirl for the Uchiha. She seems unable to see his flaws. Her obsession with the Uchiha is to the point that she's dieting to try and look pretty for him. She constantly belittles everyone that's not her precious, Sasuke-kun, in an obvious effort to make herself feel better. Sasuke doesn't respond to her advances, he doesn't so much as talk to her. He's a rude, abrasive asshole. Ibiki sighed and rubbed his brow briefly before going on. The other Jonin in the room started muttering among themselves as they heard this. Sakura is pathetic. She has no stamina, she has no real strength, and she falls for the most basic of traps and genjutsu. She is also unable to deal with torture of any kind. I'm not sure if even I can beat her into shape and snap her out of her fangirl obsession. Hiruzen said, Be quiet. Ibiki, continue please, as he flashed his chakra. When Ibiki nodded, a smile appeared on his face. The only saving grace on the team is Pira Nico's. She is as patient a person as you can get. Pira took everything in stride and even figured out the purpose of the test I gave to them. She attempted to communicate with the other two so they could formulate some kind of strategy to pass. Sasuke and Sakura were not having any of it, however. So, rather than work directly with them, she aided them from the shadows, doing what she could to give them a chance at passing. However, when Sasuke realized what she was doing, he turned on her and actually attacked her, belittling her and telling her that he didn't need any of her, and I quote, fucking help. What they just heard startled the others. But Hiruzen was enraged beyond belief. One of his Anbu heeded his call and came forward, kneeling and bending his head in reverence. I've tolerated his existence for too long. Anbu, he spoke, collect Sasuke Uchiha and bring him before me. I want to have a word with him and see just how far gone he is. After giving a nod, the Anbu vanished to go get the Uchiha. The Hokage gestured for Ibiki to go on again. Pira's Kekkei Genkai is incredible. She's able to control metal of all kinds. A type of magnetic polarization, if you will. She turned every metallic weapon we had on me and damn near skewered me before Sasuke interfered. Even if the other two fail, I'd be proud to take her on as an apprentice. Hiruzen nodded and added, I might just grant you that request. I'm sure she could greatly benefit from studying under you, Ibiki. Ibiki said, thank you, Hokage-sama. A moment later, Sasuke and the Anbu reappeared. Do you require anything else, Hokage-sama? He said, making the Uchiha kneel before the Hokage. Hiruzen shook his head and grinned. He watched as the Anbu nodded and then vanished once again, saying, you are free to return to your post. He turned his attention back to Sasuke and saw the boy get up. He unleashed his immense deadly intent on the youngster after deciding he would have to cow him into submission. The sound of Sasuke urinating on himself was soon heard by all. Scowling, Hiruzen replied, I should make you clean my floor, but something tells me you'd refuse even if I made it a direct order. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you a few questions and you're going to answer them honestly. Try to refuse, and I promise you that I will take your headband and bar you from ever leaving the village to avenge your clan. When Hiruzen noticed Sasuke staring at him, he got up and circled his desk. Hiruzen came up to the Uchiha, gave him a chilly look, and then backhanded him in the face, knocking him to the ground. Sasuke Uchiha, did you, or did you not, attack Pira Nico's when she tried to assist you in your test earlier today? Glaring up at the Hokage, Sasuke carefully sat up once more. That bitch was trying to get in my way. I don't need her goddamn help and I don't need a team of losers. I'm an elite. I will kill Itachi and avenge my clan. So yes, I attacked that weak bitch to show her not to cross me. I should have killed her for daring to get in my way. The Uchiha was scowled at by the other shinobi in the room, who hated his demeanor. The Hokage, meanwhile, only looked down at Sasuke indifferently. I see. Sasuke, do you understand why she was helping you? Because she wanted to ride on my success. She can't do a damn thing on her own, so she tried to take my glory. If she had just kept out of it, I'd be a true genin by now. Hiruzen sighed and paused before backhanded Sasuke once more, causing him to fall to the ground. Teams in Konohagakure are formed of 1 jonin and 3 genin. We pride ourselves on our teamwork and our ability to work together to overcome any obstacle. You cannot do everything on your own, especially not in my village. Hiruzen held Sasuke to the ground by pressing his foot against his head as he attempted to stand. Did you ever even attempt to get therapy after what you went through? Or did you prefer to stay alone, brooding over what you lost? I don't need any goddamn therapy. Therapy is for the weak. I am strong. I am an elite. We Uchiha founded this village and we were meant to run it and exterminate all the weaklings. We would never have tolerated such failures. Sasuke yelled with rage. He reached down, tore off Sasuke's headband, and placed it on his desk, saying, I see. As of this moment, you are no longer a shinobi of Konohagakure. You will spend the rest of your life behind bars. We'll collect sperm samples from you and implant them in willing women, ready to have your children. However, you will never see them. You won't have any chance to poison the minds of your future children. Your chakra will be sealed off and you will never obtain your Sharingan. You will rot in prison until you die. I will not tolerate your kind in my village. You can't do this to me. The councils will protect me. They hold power over you. You can't go against them, you stupid old man. Sasuke cried, his eyes widening in terror. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow and gave Sasuke a menacing grin. They've really played you for a fool. The councils hold no sway over me. They can bitch and moan all they want, but in the end they can't do a thing. Now farewell, Sasuke Uchiha. I'll personally oversee the sealing of your chakra and the collection of your sperm. I want to see your pain, your frustration. I'm going to enjoy every second of it too. Now, Anbu, take him away. The Uchiha was grabbed by another Anbu, who then vanished with him. After finishing that, Hiruzen resumed his seat again and turned to face Ibiki. I'm going to trust you to break Sakura and rebuild her from the ground up. I'll place another person on your team. I think one Ruby Rose would love to join your team. She's a couple years younger than the others, but she's exceptionally skilled and I think she'll make a fine addition. Before everyone's attention shifted to Kurenai, Ibiki gave the Hokage a smile. The woman with the red-eyed expression said, "Teammate passed my test. Unfortunately, Kiba is a problem I hadn't anticipated. He's full of himself, claiming himself to be an alpha male. On top of that, he seems to have it in his head that women are meant to be used for reproduction purposes and that's it. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he attempts to force himself on Hinata at some point." Kurenai scowled as she said, "I swear to Kami that if he tries anything, I'm going to put him in such a nasty genjutsu he'll piss himself in fear." Hiruzen grinned and replied, "I see. Keep an eye on him and see what you can do. If his behavior persists, I'll get Sume to deal with it in her own way. As it stands, he's the weak link on the team. His arrogance could very well lead to the deaths of your teammates and yourself." Kurenai bowed her head while frowning. "Agreed." At this point, she said, "Team 10 passes, barely." Like Sakura, Ino is a Sasuke fangirl. At first, she was quite bitchy, but as time went on, she worked together with her teammates and passed my test. I'm going to attempt to curb her fangirl tendencies and make her into a brilliant kunoichi. I also need to find a way to motivate Shikamaru and Choji. Shikamaru's lazy as hell, just like damn near all Nara males. Choji would rather eat and snack on chips and the like than train or hurt somebody. I worry that they won't make it out in the big, wide world." Hiruzen looked at him and said, "Your team will be stuck doing D-rank missions until I deem them fit for anything higher than that. I'm giving you 1 month to make them shape up. Afterwards, if they don't show any signs of improving themselves, I'm benching the team. I refuse to send ill-prepared genin outside of the village. I suggest you inform them of this stipulation. It might motivate them properly." Before everyone's eyes shifted to Anko, Asuma remarked, "Roger that pops." With a grin on her face, Anko said, "My team's good. They earn a pass. Only real problem is the tension between Naruto-kun and Yuna. Yuna's causing conflict between the two of them and it's hard for Naruto-kun to deal with it. I think they're going to do their best to avoid each other for a while. I'll do my best to fix it, but..." Hiruzen let out a sigh and stated, "Understood. I hope Naruto-kun can get through her shell and snap her out of her funk. For now, you'll be doing D ranks until you feel Naruto and Yuna can work together despite their differences." "Understood." Anko smiled and said, "Roger that Hokage-sama. I hate D-rank missions, but I'll do whatever it takes to ensure my team becomes the most badass team in the village." "That's a promise." Hiruzen laughed a little as he surveyed the assembled jonin. Asuma laughed a little and nodded before exiting the room. "That will be all. You're dismissed. Asuma, can you tell my secretary that I need someone to clean the floor of my office? It's starting to smell in here." After everyone had left, Hiruzen decided to check in on Naruto using his crystal ball. "Naruto-kun, how are you doing?" Naruto was having trouble focusing on what he was learning at the moment. He was so damned furious at the moment. He slammed his hand down, grumbled to himself, and put the scroll he had been reading back on his table. "Damn that bitch. First I'm forced to give up my home to them, I have to pretty much ask them if I can enter the house and borrow what belongs to me, now she says that. I'll admit, I might have overreacted a bit, but for fuck's sake. Then she's hesitant to give me a chance in any way. Damn it, I'm pissed." He raged for a long, obviously frustrated by the whole thing. But when he heard someone knocking on his door, he stopped. He approached it and opened it, a little taken aback to discover his new sensei standing there. "Anko-chan, what's up?" he said, letting her in and taking his seat again. Anko pulled up a chair next to him and put a hand on his cheek, caressing his whisker lines. "Are you going to be okay, Naruto-kun. Naruto sighed and replied, maybe. I don't know. I'm frustrated as hell. I'm trying to give her a chance, I really am. I understand that she's hurting, but she doesn't seem to realize that she's hurting me too. I won't hurt her, especially if she's suffering from a loss of some kind. But damn it, I had wanted to know about my parents for the longest time. I wanted to move into their home. I wanted a lot of things, and now it's been taken from me because Yuna can't handle being around me. It's not like I'm trying to replace this mystery guy of hers or something. I just want. He took a deep breath. When Anko noticed this, she drew Naruto close to her and planted a kiss on his cheek. If it helps any, I'm here for you, Naruto-kun. Anko-chan will always be here for you. Naruto blushed and smiled at her, but before he could say, thank you, his best buddy put her lips to his. He blushed even more and began to gently kiss her back, pulling her closer to him. Even if nobody else does, just know that I love you, Naruto-kun. I always will, Anko remarked with a wink as they parted ways. Thanks, Anko-chan, that really means a lot to me. To be honest, I've had a crush on you for the longest time. Never acted on my feelings though. I mean, I didn't think you'd be interested in a younger guy like me. He replied with a nervous chuckle. With a little chuckle, Anko said, sweetheart, age means nothing to me. Unless you're old enough to be my grandpa or something, then it's pretty much a big ol' fuck no. For me, she laughed again, kissed him again, and just held him close till his head rested on her handsome chest. I'll take care of you, Naruto-kun. So please, for the time being, move in with me. Okay, it'd be safer and your things wouldn't be stolen so frequently. My apartment won't be vandalized and we could even cuddle every night if you wanted to. It would mean a lot to me if you did. I'd like that, Anko-chan. Let's get my things packed and we can get me moved into your home. And, cuddling sounds nice, Naruto replied, blushing once more and grinning up at her. Anko said, damn right it does. Before assisting Naruto in packing anything he required or desired to keep. She said, we're really going to need to get you some new clothes. Why do you wear so much orange, anyways? Once they were finished. Naruto exclaimed with a sigh, it's the only thing they'd sell to me. I wasn't allowed to buy any other type of clothing. I think they wanted to make sure I'd hopefully die on any mission outside the village. This made the snake mistress frown. I know a good place to go. They won't kick you out, and they'll treat you fairly, as if you were just another customer. Now come on, let's get going. With a nod of gratitude, Naruto and his Anko-chan departed his dilapidated flat and headed for her residence. I'm grateful, Anko-chan. Afterwards, Naruto studied the scrolls he had taken from his parents' house for a long time. He had gained some knowledge about the Uzumaki clan's past and their potential thus far. He also discovered that the Uzumaki clan, whose own hamlet is called Uzushiogakure, was an ally of Konohagakure. But something seemed strange to him. How could Uzushiogakure have been exterminated if their island nation had strong fortifications, strong clan members, and whirlpools that shielded them constantly? He didn't understand. All he could think of was that they had been betrayed by someone from Konoha. He concluded that one individual in particular might have been responsible for the slaughter of his clan after considering all he knew about the village's elderly residents. Shimura Danzo, I will destroy you if I discover proof that you caused the demise of my clan. However, he was startled out of his reverie by a knock on the door. Anko unlocked the door and walked by him, kissing his cheek on the way. The third Hokage of Konoha, Hiruzen Sarutobi, was standing in her doorway. May I come in, Anko? He said with a smile. The snake mistress gave a nod and stepped aside to make room for them to enter her modest home. Hiruzen entered and sat down close to Naruto. Naruto-kun, be honest with me. How are you holding up? After a long moment of frowning, the blonde let out a frustrated groan. I'm frustrated, Gramps. I wanted so badly to move into my parents' home, but I had to give it up so those three would be safe. I have to ask permission if I want to enter the home and collect things. Yuna, she's been dismissive of me and tries not to deal with me if she can help it. She's not even apologetic to me for the things she's said and done. Then there was the dress fear incident, and finally her insinuating that my suffering couldn't be anywhere near as bad as hers and Anko-chan's. Don't get me wrong, I couldn't give a rat's ass what she thinks of me, but there's just so much wrong with her. I think, deep down, she's comparing me to that Titus guy in some way. That, and I get the feeling she's not fond of men period. Anko sighed and replied, "You might be onto something there. Something's definitely happened in her past. I'll see if I can't get her to open up a bit about Titus and whatever else is bothering her. I get the feeling something big happened to make her wary around men, distrustful even." Hiruzen scowled and briefly scratched at his beard. "I remember her mentioning some man by the name of Seymour Guado when she talked with us about her past. When she spoke his name, it was with a hefty amount of disgust. I think he probably ties into her distrust in some way." Still sounding very irritated, Naruto remarked, "Probably, but there's a chance there's more to it than just those two. I can't help but wonder just what the hell happened to her in the past that she's taking it out on me." Hiruzen smiled at his surrogate grandson and added, "Anyway, I'm here to talk to you about something else, Naruto-kun. I have a proposition for you." "Oh?" questioned Naruto, raising an eyebrow. "What's on your mind, Gramps?" "I removed Kakashi Hataki's Sharingan-eye earlier before having him and Sasuke incarcerated. I would like to implant the Sharingan-eye I took from him into you. It should help to improve your training even further, and I truly believe you can make good use of it. What do you say, my boy?" The blonde's eyes grew wide as he attempted to comprehend the question. "Are you sure about this? You know how the villagers will react," the snake mistress said, glancing at the Hokage as he considered his options. With a smile on his face, Hiruzen said, "I don't care. Naruto has been wronged enough as it is. I think he deserves a little something special, don't you?" Anko merely acknowledged his reasoning with a nod. At this point, Naruto made the decision to speak. "If you really think I can handle it, then I'll take it. I promise I'll make you and my parents proud of me. Will I have to wear my headband over my eye like Kakashi had to?" Hiruzen grinned at Naruto and shook his head. "I highly doubt it. The Sharingan was implanted into Kakashi hastily, and by someone inexperienced in such a transplant. We'll have trained professionals do the transplant. You should be able to turn it on and off at will." Naruto asked, glad to hear it. "So, when do we go through with this?" "As soon as you're ready, Mboy. We can go and do it right now if you'd like," Hiruzen replied. Naruto replied with a nod, "The sooner the better. I'll need to train with it and get used to using it. It'll be an interesting experience for sure." "Glad to hear it. Anko, will you come as well?" "Hell yeah, I'm coming. Let's go," Anko exclaimed, nodding. After a brief exchange of laughs, Hiruzen and Naruto got up and left the apartment. Undoubtedly, the three of them were eager to see what Naruto could accomplish with Obito's Sharingan. "I promise you'll be alright, Naruto-kun." The sensation of having someone else's eye in his head made Naruto blink a few times. He had already become used to turning it on and off, and it was an odd sensation to memorize things right away. Eventually, he turned to face Anko and then the Hokage, saying, "I wonder if I can cast Genjutsu with this thing. I couldn't do crap about Genjutsu before, so this thing will probably come in pretty handy." Choosing to play with him for a little while, Anko grinned and said, "Activate your Sharingan. I want to test something." Naruto turned on the Sharingan and stated, "All right. Here goes." Anko gave him a sly smile when he did, then she flashed Naruto her breasts while wearing mesh armor. She smirked at him and immediately put everything back in its proper position. With a cunning smirk, Anko asked, "Sue, is that image ingrained in your head now, my darling Naru-kun?" As he attempted to comprehend what the hell his Anko-chan had just done, Naruto's face was as red as a tomato. He looked at Hiruzen, who was also flushed. He had clearly seen Anko's breasts, but she seemed unconcerned. Such a vision got more and more common in his mind the more he attempted to escape it. "Damn, those are nice." He began to giggle perversely, saying, Anko-chan. "The hell, you, holy crap." The snake mistress laughed and replied, "Damn right they are. And yeah, I did that in front of the Hokage. Big whoop. I wanted to see your reaction and it was great. Now, we should probably go home and get some rest. Unless you've got something else you want to take care of real quick." "No, I'm fine. Let's get home and get some rest. It's been a long day and I'm honestly exhausted," the blonde remarked, shaking his head. "Was there anything else you needed from us, Hokage-sama? Or can we go home? I'm looking forward to some Naru cuddle time." "Yay cuddles?" Anko inquired, nodding in comprehension as she turned to face the Hokage. Hiruzen shook his head and gave a little laugh. "There's nothing else. You two are free to return home and get some sleep. I expect to see your team tomorrow so you can begin taking D-rank missions. And Naruto, good luck in your training. Anko will ensure you're more than prepared for anything." Naruto took Anko's hand in his and walked outside with her after saying, "Of course. Thanks, Gramps. Come on, Anko-chan, let's go home." Rather than heading directly home, they chose to just take a leisurely walk. The glares and whispers some of the civilians were giving them were unavoidable as they walked. They labeled Anko a demon whore, and the snake mistress frowned before turning to Naruto, grabbing his cheeks, and giving him a passionate kiss in front of everyone. She turned to the villagers after they had parted ways and exclaimed, "That's right. I'm in a relationship with Naruto-kun and I'm proud of it. So go ahead and say what you want, you cowards. TCH, you're not even worth my time, any of you." A masculine shinobi from the throng moved forward to give her a menacing grin. "I wonder, how would he feel if he knew just how many men you've slept with, whore? You'll spread your legs for just about anybody, won't you? What, can't take the shame anymore, so you decided to be with the one person that has it worse off than you? TCH, how pathetic." At this point, Anko almost growled before striking her fist into the man's face, which caused him to reel back a few feet. "I'll have you assholes know that I'm a virgin for fuck's sake. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of all of you. We're the only ones that can truly understand one another and the pain we share. Why can't you people just let us be happy? Is it really so wrong for us to be happy? Do you enjoy putting others down? I bet you assholes do it just to make yourselves feel better. Bruised egos, lousy lives, you're the pathetic ones. Not us." Naruto approached Anko and dabbed at her tears. "Sweetheart, let's just go. You don't need to waste any more words on the likes of them." Naruto was about to start walking with his lover when he was hit in the face by a bottle of vodka, which splattered its contents all over his head. The glass fragments that were now embedded in his face just made things worse. One piece had punctured his nose, while another was perilously close to his regular eye. His left cheek was wounded by a few pieces. Naruto screamed in agony as he attempted to remove the glass fragments, but Anko intervened to stop him. Naruto was screaming not just from the wounds but also from the alcohol seeping into them. "No, don't pull them out. We need to get you to the hospital, again." Naruto snuck by her and entered the man's guard after spotting the shinobi from before advancing on Anko for a kill strike. Naruto swiftly grabbed the man's tightly clenched palm around his kunai, overpowered him, and repeatedly forced the man to stab himself in the throat until he collapsed to the ground, dead. Naruto's eyes widened in terror at what he had just done, and he started to shake wildly before he collapsed to his knees and threw up his food on the floor. He murmured softly, I just killed somebody. I'm a monster, I'm what they said I am, looking at his hands after he had stopped puking. Anko knelt down and gave her sweetheart a firm embrace. "You're not a monster, sweetheart. You protected me from harm. Everyone here saw what he was about to do to me. You did what you did to save me. A monster wouldn't do that. A demon wouldn't do that. You're a wonderful person and I love you for it. Now let's get you to the hospital." "Okay." A recognizable woman with silver hair came up to them before they could move more than a few paces. Pain asked, "I saw what happened. Are you two okay?" She continued checking to make sure no one else tried anything else in the crowd. "Just what the hell is wrong with these people?" A guy yelled, "The demon murdered someone in cold blood. Hurry, we need to inform the council." Before Anko or Naruto could respond, the throng then left, perhaps preferring to go and tell the council their version of the story rather than speak to the Hokage. "Son of a bitch, Pain, can you take Naruto-kun to the hospital? I need to tell Hokage-sama what happened," Anko shouted, her fists clenched tightly. At this moment, Anbu Cat entered the room and shook her head. "We will inform him of what transpired here. Hokage-sama was concerned and sent a few of us to find you. I saw everything. I'm sorry I didn't step in sooner." Sighing, she continued, "Stay with your boyfriend, Anko. Get him to the hospital and guard him. Hokage-sama will be there as soon as he is able." As they watched, Cat vanished to speak with the Hokage. Anko put one hand on each of their shoulders after he left and disappeared with them to the hospital. When they arrived, Anko and Naruto rushed inside and rushed up to a nurse. "Please, Naruto-kun's been hurt. We were attacked and, well, see for yourself." The nurse's eyes widened in terror as she gazed at Naruto. "Naruto, we'll get you to a room and get a doctor to see you immediately. Just don't attempt to remove the glass on your own, no matter how much it hurts." Naruto followed the nurse to a room and merely thanked her. He glanced at Pain and Anko while he waited. "You might want to get Yuna and Riku-chan. I'm sure they're wondering what happened to you," Pain-chan, he added after giving it some thought. With a nod, Pain responded, I'll go. Be careful. I'm so sorry this happened to you, Naruto-kun. We just got out of the damn hospital, only for this to happen. What the hell is wrong with these people? No, they're not people. They're monsters, Anko remarked, glaring at her lover as Pain rushed out to pick up Yuna and Riku. With a sorrowful sigh, Naruto shook his head. I'm not making excuses for them, but I believe that seeing the two most hated people in the village being happy together was just too much for them to bear. They're scum. Lower than trash. I don't know why we can't just be happy together. Anko clenched her fists and murmured, because people are assholes, that's why. I hope Hokage-sama puts those assholes in their place. At this moment, Naruto's personal physician came into the room and walked up to him. He started to assess Naruto's wounds and determine the extent of the injury, saying, I certainly hope so as well. Tell me exactly what happened. Well, Office of the Hokage. Hearing his Anbu's report, the Hokage frowned. He hit his desk with his fist. Those blasted cowards. How dare they attack one of my shinobi? They will be made an example of. And this might just be the best time to deal with that rotten council, should they dare to try and protect those monsters. In this moment, Hiruzen's secretary came into the room frowning. Hokage-sama, the council, namely the elders, have called for a council meeting. You might want to get there before they try anything stupid. The elderly Hokage was annoyed and remarked, those blasted fools haven't the authority to call together the council. They're abusing their positions, thinking they have more power than they do. This calls for a little house cleaning. Room for council meetings. The devil had harmed one of their own, and the civilian council was in a rage. Danzo was just grinning as he tried to figure out how to make this work to his advantage. The fact that Naruto had slain a fellow shinobi made the other two seniors frown. But what about the clan heads? Sume Inuzuka yelled, would you assholes shut the hell up already? All you have is one side of the story, a biased side. You don't know the full truth of the situation yet, so stop making snap judgments and decisions on the word of a bigot. Besides, Hokage-sama isn't even here yet. You have no right to be deciding things without him being here. Sure we do. We hold more power than that feeble old man. He's obviously gone senile with how much he protects that rotten demon. Besides, without us, a civilian sneered. The man was killed by an Anbu who ran him through before he could finish that statement. After that, Hiruzen entered the room, gave the elders a fierce look, and then turned to face the civilian council. Hiruzen gave the three elders a fierce look and remarked, last I remember, only the Hokage has the power to call the council together. You three have overstepped your bounds. Anbu, end them. I won't have them tainting my village a moment longer. Why you can't do that? You need us. Besides, we hold power over you, Hiruzen. Homura yelled as his eyes widened. The third Hokage merely arched an eyebrow and then gave a nasty laugh. Your mere advisors with absolutely no power over me or the village itself. Now die. When three Anbu emerged and killed Homura, Kaharu, and Danzo, the elders were taken aback. They believed they had killed Danzo, nevertheless. Moments later, he resurfaced over to the side, seemingly unharmed. Danzo, take off your bandages. I want to see what you're hiding, Hiruzen remarked, squinting his eyes. So you've decided to grow a spine, I see. I think I'd rather be going now than risk exposing myself to you fools. Root, to me, Danzo exclaimed, frowning at Hiruzen as the other two elders fell on the ground, dead. Hiruzen frowned and banged his fist against the table as four Anbu impersonators surrounded Danzo before disappearing with him. That rotten bastard, I ordered him to disband Root goddammit. He said, glaring at the civilian council. As for you, I'm tired of you thinking you can control my shinobi and use them for your own personal errands. We are not here to serve you. We are not your slaves. This is a shinobi village run by shinobi. You just live here. If you don't want to meet the same fate as these two, you'd better run on home with your tail between your legs. From now on, the civilian council is no more. I don't care how you feel about it, I'm tired of listening to you pompous assholes. Hiruzen snapped his fingers as a female council member prepared to object. Did I fucking stutter? I said get out of here. Sume gazed at Hiruzen in surprise after the civilians had left the room. Okay, I don't think I've ever seen you this pissed off before. What the hell really happened out there, Hokage-sama? Hiruzen grinned and said, Naruto-kun and Anko-chan were walking home together when a number of the villagers began to harass them. calling Anko names such as demon whore. After Anko kissed her boyfriend, seeing their perplexed expressions, Hiruzen nodded. Yes, Anko and Naruto are in a relationship now. Anyways, they were both upset by how they were being treated. One of our shinobi approached them and decided to taunt the two of them, talking about how Anko-chan spreads her legs for any man willing to have her, among other degrading comments. She slugged him pretty hard for that. With a heavy sigh, the elderly Hokage stated, when Naruto turned to walk off with his girlfriend, a villager nailed him in the face with a liquor bottle full of alcohol. Naruto-kun is currently in the hospital to get the glass removed carefully so he can heal properly. Anko began to look over her boyfriend and told him not to try and remove the glass on his own. However, the shinobi she had struck attempted to murder her for daring to strike him. Naruto acted in defense of Anko-chan and killed the man. This was his first kill and he's not taking it well. Hiyashi grumbled as he said, "Please tell me you're going to make an example of whomever it was that attacked Naruto. The civilians can't get away with this behavior. They attacked a shinobi of the village." Hiruzen nodded and continued, "My Anbu have already started interrogating the civilians that were in the area at the time. If they are unable to find who threw the bottle, they have orders to start killing them one by one until the perpetrator comes forward. If she never does, then they'll all be killed. It's as simple as that. I won't tolerate this kind of behavior, especially not when they attack one of my shinobi. Besides, Naruto-kun and Anko-chan have been through quite enough." Shikaku rubbed his eyes wearily and moaned. "So troublesome. You know that whomever it was, they're going to be cowardly and refuse to show themselves. They're all selfish and only seem to think of themselves. If the Anbu follow said orders, we're going to have a lot of dead civilians on our hands." With a sorrowful sigh, the elderly Hokage shook his head. "I know, but I need to take action this time. I can't just let them think they can get away with this." From what I heard, Naruto got extremely lucky. One of the shards of glass nearly took out an eye. Damn them, I don't think even Naruto could heal from such an injury. What is wrong with the people of this village? Choza exclaimed, his eyes widening. Hiruzen nodded his head once again and continued, "I wish I knew. Anyways, I need to go and check on Naruto-kun. And we need to figure out how to deal with Danzo as well. It's obvious he's hiding far more than the fact he kept Root active beneath my nose." Shikaku nodded and continued, "It's troublesome, but I'll do what I can to come up with a workable strategy. We'll first need to find him before we can do anything. I doubt he's fled the village yet. Besides, he craves your position, so he won't run. At least not if he doesn't have to. No, he'll wait and plot in the shadows. At least he knows now that he can't move freely anymore, so those girls and Naruto should be safe from him now, for the time being, at least." Shikaku sighed gently and said, "Yes, those three girls are special. I'll explain everything to you all later. For now, I need to go see Naruto-kun. You're all dismissed." Hiruzen arched an eyebrow at Shikaku and said, "So you know." "Of course you do." Hospital. Gazing at the scene in front of them, Yuna and Riku scowled. At first, they weren't sure exactly what to think when Pain had informed them what had transpired. They both felt disgusted by how awful the villagers could be to two of their own, especially now that they were witnessing it firsthand. Yuna approached them and gave Naruto a sorrowful glance before bowing to him at the waist. "I'm so sorry, Naruto. I truly didn't realize just how badly you have it here. Why do you stay here if things are this bad?" The doctor started to carefully remove some of the glass, and Naruto grimaced. "I have nowhere else to go. Besides that, I have people I love here. I'm not just going to leave them behind and run away." Anko shook her head and scowled pitifully. "Besides that, Naruto-kun's." Hiruzen entered the room and declared, "Naruto-kun is the village's Jinchuriki. He houses the Kyuubi no Yoko within himself. I will explain all of that to you later. The short and simple truth is that he's a deterrent for war. I do not view him as such, but some people do. Sadly, we can't just let Naruto-kun leave, even though I'd gladly let him if it meant he could be happy somewhere else. You have a lot of explaining to do if we're going to be on the same team together." Pain scowled at this. She and the other YRP team members were scowled at by Naruto. "Like you've all been entirely honest with us. There's more to Yuna's problems than just some lost love. I don't know who this Titus guy is and I don't care. I don't know the full story, and again I don't care. It's obvious he was important to you, so I won't badmouth the guy. However, you're taking your frustrations and depression out on me and I'm honestly kind of sick of it. I'm not going to bend over backwards to try and please you and keep you happy. I've given you my house, I'd treated you with respect, I've tried to be supportive. So you can't just demand answers from us when you aren't willing to give them yourselves. Be still, Naruto. I don't want you causing more harm to yourself, the doctor murmured, giving him a gentle pat on top of his head. The degree of venom in Naruto's speech made Yuna and the other YRP members wince. Before she composed herself, the brunette clasped her fists tightly and looked down. I'm not ready yet. Then Naruto sneered. He was unable to respond at this time, though, since the doctor started to remove the glass over his eye, forcing him to close it. Shit doc, that hurts. The physician murmured, of course it does. It's wedged in deep. I'm doing what I can to make this as easy on you as possible, Naruto, but you need to bear with me for a little while longer. Before turning to face Yuna with his new eye, Naruto murmured, of course. Anyways, until you feel like you're ready to tell us everything, I'm not going to tell you jack squat. As he looked at Riku and Pain, Naruto, sorry Riku-chan, Pain-chan, but trust is a two-way street. I've placed my trust in you three, but Yuna isn't willing to place her trust in me. I'm not just going to spill all my secrets or explain everything when she can't be bothered to put some damn faith in me. Pain and Riku both gave knowing nods but remained silent. Rather, they watched as Yuna glared at Naruto and yelled, "Why should I trust you?" Exclamation mark. You're probably just like all the other guys I've met. Waka was a racist jerk for the longest time, and even when he was my guardian he kept up with that nonsense. Seymour was, shuddering in disgust at the memories. She then glared at Naruto once more and said, brother was annoying and wouldn't leave me alone. He didn't respect my feelings. And the faith, they stole him from me. You don't know what it's like. She shuddered in terror as Naruto gazed back at her, involuntarily utilizing his Sharingan. So you'd compare me to the men from your past without taking the time to get to know me first. Figures it'd be something like that. You're right. I don't know what it's like to have something like that happen. I know pain and suffering though. I know it all too well. I also know what it feels like to be betrayed. How about I tell you a little story? Petulantly, Yuna said, and what if I don't want to hear it? Simply grinning ruthlessly at her, Naruto remarked, tough shit, because I'm going to tell it to you and everyone else here anyways. Taking a moment to rest his eyes, Naruto said, I'm an orphan. Lived in an orphanage for a while until I was kicked out and forced to live on the streets at the age of 4. Nobody in this room knows this, but there were a few people that wanted to adopt me. They were officially approved by the Civilian Council, whose jurisdiction I fell under at the time. With his hands balled into fists, Naruto went on, these people would take me away from the orphanage or my apartment and act like they were giving me a new home. Also I could finally be happy. Only, it was all a trick. These people decided to teach their kids the best way to torture the demon. They laughed as they beat me and tortured me for hours on end. Then, they'd toss me out on the street for the Anbu to find. Before opening his Sharingan eye and meeting Yuna's eyes, Naruto explained, the first time, I wondered what I did wrong. The second time, I was so hopeful, only for it to happen to me again. The third time, I decided that I wouldn't fall for it ever again. Then they started to kidnap me and drag me before their families so they could torture me all over again. Their kids learned from their example. I was a prime target for bullying throughout the academy by these very kids. He closed his eyes once again and sighed quietly before saying, so you're right. I don't know your pain. But I know suffering. I know loneliness. I know pain. He then fell silent as the doctor took out the final piece of glass. Anko's eyes were watering as the doctor started using medicinal ninjutsu to hasten Naruto's recuperation. Why the hell didn't you tell me about this? I could have done something. I would have done something to make them all pay for hurting you. Naruto looked at him and replied, it wouldn't have made a difference. They'd just find new ways to torture me. Yuna, just leave. Go back to my home and get some rest. I don't want you here anymore. Unsure of how to interpret anything Naruto had just told her, Yuna merely looked in disbelief. The brunette shuddered once more as he instructed her to leave, then turned and walked out of the room silently. Before turning and departing with Yuna, Riku gave Naruto a sorrowful scowl. Pain, however, remained in place. Why did these things to you? I highly doubt you did anything to warrant such behavior. Naruto shook his head and let out a sigh. I trust you, Pain-chan, truly I do. But I don't want to talk about it right now. You should go get some rest too. Hopefully I can join you girls for training and missions tomorrow. What do you think, Doc? For a while, the doctor scowled as he considered it. After a while, he said, with how quickly you heal, it shouldn't be a problem. However, I want you to take it easy. No strenuous exercise for at least a couple of days, and try not to use your right eye too much. The glass came dangerously close to severing the optic nerve. You're going to be tender for a few days until you've fully healed. Anko, I'm trusting you to take good care of him. Don't push him too hard, and make sure he doesn't try to go past his limitations right now. Do you understand me? With a nod, Anko approached Naruto and gave him a gentle pat on the hair. Of course, I'll take real good care of him. Will he need to wear an eye patch or anything? The physician shook his head and scowled a little. So long as he doesn't use that eye until he's fully healed, he should be fine. For now, do as Kakashi did and use your headband to cover your eye. After a couple of days have passed, I want you to come see me again so I can determine if you're fully recovered or not. Got it, Naruto? With a little nod, the blonde answered, got it, doctor. Thanks for looking after me. Of course, you should go home and get some rest now. You've had a long day. Hokage-sama, I suggest assigning a personal guard to Naruto for the time being. There's no telling when the villagers might try something again. Hiruzen glanced at Anko and then Naruto before nodding. Anko, take him home. Cuddling is fine, but nothing strenuous, got it? Pain, you should get on home as well. Give our apologies to Riku and Yuna as well, please. When she is ready to open up to us, we'll open up to all of you. Pain gave a sympathetic nod. It's fine, I don't blame any of you. Yuna's having a hard time. But that doesn't excuse her behavior or the things she says. Take care, Naruto. I'll see you tomorrow. You as well, Anko-sensei. She added as she left the room. Before he and Anko exited the room, Naruto gave the doctor one final thank you. Thank you for taking care of him. But you're concerned about something. What's on your mind? Hiruzen asked the doctor after they were alone in the room. The physician sighed and crossed his arms over his chest before responding, the story he told us. I believe his scars may lie deeper than simply in the physical sense, Hokage-sama. I think he needs to start seeing Inoichi Yamanaka for therapy. He needs someone to vent to, at the very least. I truly believe that Inoichi can help heal Naruto's emotional and mental scars. In fact, I think he's the only one that truly can. Hiruzen agreed with the statement and nodded. Very well, I'll start him off with a session once a week. Inoichi will tell me if he wants to see Naruto-kun more often or if he's okay to do certain missions and whatnot. I had no idea things were that bad. Neither did I, Hokage-sama. This is very concerning. I remember what Minato preached. Love is what is needed to counter the hatred of the demons Jinchuriki hold. You felt it the same as I did. Naruto bears a deep hatred for the people of this village. He is not surrounded by love like Kushina-sama and Mito-sama. With a frown, the Hokage balled his fists at his sides. Damn it, Minato, you stupid fool. You've doomed your son to a life of misery and pain. I hope Kushina's kicking your ass in the afterlife for this. The doctor answered, you and me both, Hokage-sama. The morning after, as Naruto regained consciousness, he became aware of something right away. He was encircled by Anko, who was using him as a kind of body pillow. The only issue, if you can call it that, was that she was nude, and he had that morning problem that young guys have, especially when a gorgeous woman is clinging to them in such a suggestive manner. Anko gave him a mischievous grin and opened one of her eyes when he attempted to get free. And where do you think you're going, handsome? I need a shower. We need to get ready to meet with the team, too. D-rank missions and all that, Naruto remarked, flushed. Before she flicked his penis, Anko remarked, a certain friend of yours sure is active for this time of day. When she had an idea, she smirked at him and slipped beneath the covers until her face was just above his crotch. I know just how to deal with this problem of yours, Naruto-kun. Just leave this to your lovable Anko-chan. As his lover started to gratify him with her mouth, Naruto flushed. I'll be a very happy man if I get to wake up to this every day. A couple of hours later, when Naruto and Anko arrived at training ground number 44, Anko was just smiling to herself and whistling a lively song, but Naruto was a flushed mess. After insisting on taking a shower with him, the blonde's girlfriend proceeded to give him a very personal cleaning. He wasn't going to gripe about her being so incredibly affectionate. Not when she was prepared to give him such amazing pleasures. Damn were they tempted, but they had refrained from going all the way because they wanted to follow the doctor's advice. "What's up, Naru? You're awfully red. Don't tell me you were up to something naughty," Riku remarked, raising an eyebrow as they arrived at the YRP girls. Naruto just blushed in embarrassment, and her eyes widened before she burst out laughing conspiratorially. "Ooh, how scandalous. You've gotta give me the details. What were you doing?" she asked. Yuna broke down in tears. "Riku, you can't just ask for personal information like that. What if it's something embarrassing? Or private?" Riku exclaimed, "Oh, details, details. He's cute, so of course I'm curious." Before turning back to face Naruto. "Sue, what were you up to, huh?" In an attempt to make fun of her, Naruto remarked, "I was spending time with my girlfriend. We didn't do too much, but we woke up in a rather awkward position. That's all." Riku turned to face Anko and said, "Ahua. I see. Well, alrighty then. Whatcha got planned for us today, Anko-sensei Wensei?" Anko took a time to examine the girls and then shrugged. "For you three, I'm not entirely sure how to go about training you. You can't use chakra the way we do, so I can't exactly train you in tree climbing, water walking, things like that. So we're going to focus on what you girls can do. You're going to take turns sparring with me and I'll give you tips where I can." Looking at each of the girls, she stated, "We're going to start with your thief dress spheres. None of those tricks such as pilfering money or anything like that. We're going straight up combat. Regular attacks only. I need to get a real feel for what you can do without all those special abilities at your disposal." "I like the sound of that. All right, I can agree to that. What about Naruto?" Pain grinned. The snake mistress looked at her boyfriend and said, "I plan to do exactly as I stated yesterday. Tree climbing and water walking to start off with. Like I said before though, you're going to have your shadow clones get to work on that. I'm going to create a shadow clone for you that will begin teaching you my taijutsu style. Sound good?" While nodding, Naruto remarked, "Of course, Anko-sensei. I'm looking forward to it." "Good to hear. My shadow clone will show you how to do both exercises. It'll be up to you to figure out the trick behind each of them." "Now let's do this," said Anko. Later on in the day, as they pulled weeds from someone's garden, Pain asked, "So, these are basically chores people are too lazy to do. How do these possibly qualify as missions?" Anko let out a sigh. "I wouldn't subject you to this hell known as D ranks, but we need to build up your teamwork. That, and you three still need to familiarize yourselves with not just the village, but our history and stuff as well. So while you're busy studying all that good stuff, we're stuck doing these missions for what little pay is being offered for them." Yuna pulled another plant and scowled. "It's because of me, isn't it?" she inquired after a time. The snake mistress looked at her and said, "I'm not going to lie to you, nor am I going to sugarcoat it. However, you should know that it's not entirely your fault. You really do need to study up on our world and we do need to work on teamwork, especially between you girls and Naruto. However, one of the problems this team currently faces is the tension between you and Naruto-kun. If you can't learn to work together and trust one another, then this team is doomed to failure. You've pissed Naruto-kun off, and he's hurt you with some of his actions and words. There's no denying that. Naruto-kun was right, however, when he said what he did yesterday. Trust is a two-way street and, if you're unable to bring yourselves to trust one another, this team could end up disbanded and each of you will be put in the reserves. I'd rather not let that happen. Especially when Naruto-kun is finally going to get a chance to show his stuff. I understand, but it's not that easy. At least not as easy as you make it sound, the brunette stated with a deep scowl. And this is why this team will fail. You're stuck in the past and wallowing in your misery. Follow our example and push through it. Toughen up and realize a few things. 1. You're not going to find a way back home. Even if you did somehow get back to your home, this, Titus, won't be there waiting for you. From the sounds of it, these, Faith, as you called them, screwed you over and now you're taking your frustrations and your depression out on Naruto-kun. After all, it's so much easier to lash out at somebody that doesn't deserve it when you'd rather deny the facts. So here's my suggestion to you, Yuna, get over yourself. You're not the only one who's suffered like you have. A lot of people have lost the one they fell in love with. Hell, Tsunade of the Sanin. She lost both her brother and her lover. She never got to have the children she always wanted with Dan. And you want to know what I think happened? I think Jiraiya, a fellow Sanin, got jealous and planned for Dan's murder. Is there proof of such a thing? No. Does it sound like something he'd do? Definitely. The point is, you need to shape up before Hokage-sama benches us. You need to stop feeling sorry for yourself and make something of yourself here, in your new life. You can always fall in love again and start that family you so obviously wanted. Anko said, or rather ranted on about. Anger made Yuna clench her fists. You don't know anything. Those tricksters stole him from me unfairly. Then they had the nerve to use me again. Fooled me into thinking Titus would be coming back. She looked at Anko and said, so shut the hell up and mind your own business. Those blasted Faith, damn it. Her anger increased with each word Anko said. She's not going to receive her payment for this mission. I hope you know that, Anko stated with a frown as Yuna fled, leaving the others to do the task. In response, Pain shook her head and said, I doubt she cares. For what it's worth, I apologize for her behavior. I hope she'll get through this. It's fine. I understand she's in pain, truly I do. However, Naruto waved it away. Riku began, but stopped, before saying, Yuni's stubborn. I'm not sure if that's the best way to express it right now, but... Anko murmured, Dabda, the stages of grief, denial she's already experienced. Anger is happening now, even if she doesn't realize it yet. I wouldn't be surprised if she starts trying to bargain soon to hopefully get home and see Titus. But from what you've told us and from what we can gather, Titus won't be there waiting for her. The Faith were cruel, playing with her heart in such a way. After that comes depression. That one's going to be rough for her. It will definitely affect her performance in the field. Then finally comes acceptance. Once she gets through the remaining stages of grief, she should be okay. Naruto sighed. Just in case, Riku replied with a sorrowful sigh, one of us should go after her. Naruto turned to face Anko and nodded. Anko-sensei, do you mind if I look for her? I won't bother her or anything, but I'd like to keep an eye on her and make sure people leave her alone. With a nod, Anko said, go. I'll take over here and help get this done. The teenager with the spiky hair nodded and made the decision to leave some shadow clones behind in order to expedite the task. And then he flew out to find Yuna. He hoped he was mistaken, but he had a sense she was going to face difficulties soon. Yuna frowned as she made her way through the village, unsure of her exact destination or even her plans. Her only goal was to get as far away from her team as she could. Unfortunately, she would not have the time to spend alone as she would have liked. A young man's voice could be heard saying, well, hello there, hottie. I don't think I've seen you around before. Glancing sideways, she noticed a teenage boy who seemed a little savage and had red spots on his face coming toward her. When she noticed that he was examining her and licking his lips in admiration of her exquisite figure, she put her arms over herself. How's about you and I go out for a nice little stroll, I could definitely show you a good time. Yuna took a few steps back, attempting to distance herself from this teenager while she shivered in revulsion. She turned to leave after saying, no thank you. I'm not interested. But before she could leave, the younger man grabbed her arm and stopped her. Let go. Oh, don't be like that, baby. I doubt you've got anything better to do than spend time with an alpha like me. Let's go out for some grub, and perhaps a little something special back at my place. The young man said with a grin. Naruto descended from above and kicked the young man in the side of the head, sending him flying away from Yuna before she could make the punk pay. Naruto stood looking at Kiba's fallen form as Kiba skidded over the ground. No means no, dog breath. Leave her alone or things will definitely get nasty for you. Wiping blood from his mouth and dirt from his face, Kiba got to his feet. Damn it, Naruto, get the hell away from my bitch. I don't care if you've called dibs on her, she's mine now. She's not some possession you can claim ownership of, Kiba. Yuna's a person, a beautiful one at that deserves some damn respect. She doesn't need you sexually harassing her. Now I suggest you apologize and run off with your tail between your legs. I won't warn you again. Naruto said, staring at Kiba. Kiba laughed and replied, you couldn't beat me in 100 years, Naruto. You're just a pathetic piece of shit that couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper bag. Now hand over my bitch and I'll let you off with a warning. You don't want to cross your betters, Naruto. With a single-handed seal in his hand, Naruto called forth an entire army of clones and signaled them to strike. With a growl, Kiba and Akamaru engaged in combat, defeating numerous clones. Unfortunately for the male Inuzuka, he was just outnumbered and could not significantly reduce the number of clones. Kiba yelled in rage as they started beating the living daylights out of him. Damn you, Naruto. Naruto let out a disappointed sigh, took Yuna's hand in his, and left Kiba to take a serious thrashing. After they were out of danger, Naruto let go of Yuna's hand and turned to go. He shook his head and looked over his shoulder at the High Summoner, sighing once more. I know, you don't want me around. Just, be careful. Kiba's not the only one that thinks with the wrong head in this village. The biggest offender is Jiraiya of the Sannin. I'd be careful when going to the hot springs. Chances are that if he's in the village, he'll be there peeping on women. He's tried that with Anko-chan and her friends before. I'm waiting for the day somebody kills the asshole. Why did you help me? I've been cruel to you, Yuna said, scowling at him. Figure it out for yourself. If you need any help, just call for me and I'll show up. The blonde merely shrugged before commenting, for now, enjoy your walk. The brunette scowled and glanced down at her hand as he vanished from view. Why is he being kind to me? His touch felt warm. She decided she wouldn't figure it out anytime soon and started walking again, unsure of what to think. I don't understand. After a week, as Hiruzen heard Anko's update on her team's success, he scowled. He sighed in disappointment and shook his head when she was done. So they're still not on the best of terms, Do you think they'll shape up before the Chunin exams roll around? Anko nodded her head and replied, I'm not sure, Hokage-sama. Yuna is difficult to work with. Sure, she takes her training seriously and refuses to take any crap from anyone, but when it comes to working with Naruto, it's still awkward. I'm starting to wonder if a C rank mission might force them to start working together. Hiruzen nodded his head and replied, not just yet. We'll reserve that for a last resort effort. For now, they still need to finish their studies. How is Naruto progressing? Anko nodded and continued, wonderfully, now that he's fully healed. He's making good use of that Sharingan to memorize my taijutsu style. He's not really using it as a cheat code or anything, though. Naruto's simply using it to better memorize the katas in my movements during our spars. Other than that, he works hard at trying to master my style, as well as everything else I've been teaching him. I highly doubt he'll become overly dependent on it like Kakashi had become. Hiruzen smiled and remarked, I'm glad to hear it. Have you managed to get any more information out of Yuna and the others? Anko nodded her head and replied, not really. From what I've been able to gather, her experiences with this man named Seymour Guado were negative in nature. I think he tried to force himself on her or something. Whatever he did, it seems to have left quite the negative impression upon her. I sincerely hope the guy is dead after whatever it was he did to her. I see. Continue working with them and try to get them to open up some more. If not Yuna, then the others. If need be, we'll inform them about the Jinchuriki, the Biju, and whatever else they have questions about. Extend the olive branch, so to speak. It might make them open up to us a little more, Hiruzen said as he rubbed his beard in. Or it could backfire and cause more problems than solve them, stated Anko. Either way, we have to do something, or else they're going to have problems in the Chunin exams. You are going to let me enter them when that time rolls around, aren't you? It depends. I want Naruto-kun to be able to trust the three of them before I even think of putting them through something like that. For now, just keep an eye on them and do what you can to mend the relationship between the two of them. He gets along well enough with Riku and Pain, but Yuna's another matter entirely. Hiruzen replied. Anko smiled and replied, of course, Hokage-sama. If that's all, I'd like to go invite Naruto-kun out for some dinner. Of course, Anko. Enjoy your date, she said. Thanks, Hokage-sama. Before departing his office. Hiruzen shook his head and moaned when he was by himself. I wish I knew what to do for you, Naruto-kun. This is incredibly frustrating for all of us, I'm sure. The Uzumaki compound. As he approached the front door of his parents' house, Naruto whistled to himself. Just to be courteous, he knocked on the door, opened it, and went inside. He was here to return some scrolls and books to their rightful places. He intended to check out a couple more Fuinjutsu books later. But as soon as he stepped inside the house, he couldn't help but notice Yuna's expression. He scowled to himself and said, what? Yuna got to her feet and approached him, staring into his eyes. Why can't you just stop coming here already? I'm tired of seeing you in my home. Get out and stop coming here already. Naruto sighed and said, in case you forgot, this is my house, not yours. You're living here because of my generosity. You're damn lucky I don't charge you rent. But fine, you know what? I don't fucking care anymore. I'm going to grab a few books and get the hell out of your hair. I'm sick of dealing with you and your damn attitude. Yuna tightened her fists and waited as he left to go do what he required. Get out. Just stop coming here already. I still don't trust you. I'm tired of having to deal with you, she said when he came back. Funny, I could say the same about you. I don't care how much you're suffering, you're pushing the bounds of my hospitality. But fine, I'll stay away for a while. However, we're going to need to work together on missions, unless you'd rather I stay away from you then too. He joked. Naruto scolded her and fled his proper home before she could respond in any manner. I hate you. I hate you so much. I want nothing to do with you, she exclaimed, glaring at the door after he had left. Riku gave her a sorrowful scowl but remained silent. In contrast, Pain approached Yuna and gave her a slap. You need to stop this, Yuna. Yes, I get that you're angry and frustrated right now. But taking it out on Naruto is wrong. You have to know that. After saying, I don't care. I just can't deal with him. I can't. Yuna left to go to bed. She had no desire to eat at the moment. What are we supposed to do? Things are only getting worse, Riku asked Pain after she left. Unfortunately, they would not be able to find any answers tonight or in the nights to come. The silver-haired woman shook her head and said, I don't know, Riku. I really don't know. It was likely that the situation would worsen before it could improve. Oh no, what on earth are we meant to do? Naruto. Trying desperately to control his rage, Naruto clenched and unclenched his fists as he made his way through the streets to his girlfriend's apartment complex. He said, damn that woman. With rage. How dare she? A female yelled, Naruto. To catch his attention, he turned to see who it was and spotted a Ruby Rose running in his direction. Hiya, we haven't really had much time to talk lately. Whatcha up to? She inquired as she came to a stop in front of him. Naruto glanced at her and replied, hey Ruby-chan. I don't really know anymore. I'm frustrated right now. How have you been? Are you enjoying being with your team? Ruby laughed and replied, yep. We're getting along really well and things are pretty awesome right now. How about you? And are you okay? You really do seem to be pretty upset. The brunette sighed and replied, I'll be fine. I'm just not getting along with one of my teammates is all. I'm glad you're having such a good time with your team though, Ruby-chan. It'll be okay Naruto-kun. I know what we can do to cheer you up. Why don't we go get some dinner and talk for a while? Might be fun, Ruby replied, giving her pal a firm hug. Enko showed there and put an arm around her boyfriend before Naruto could respond. She laughed and remarked, oh, is little Ruby-chan asking Naru-kun out on a date? How cute. The girl with the black hair shook her head and flushed. No, I mean, of course not. I just figured, you know, he might like some sea company. Besides, I think he needs someone to talk to. I totally wasn't thinking of it like a date. Nope, nah, I know, let's all go out to eat together. Doesn't that sound good? After giving Ruby a simple smirk, Enko leaned in and said to her lover in a whisper, I think someone's got a crush. Naruto laughed uneasily and flushed a little. Sure seems that way, huh? Oh well, going out to eat together should be fun. Let's go. Enko gazed into Ruby's eyes and nodded. Well, lead the way Rosie. I think we've got a lot to talk about. Ruby gave a nod and started guiding them to her preferred dining spot. Sounds good to me. I want to hear all about what you've been up to. As they strolled, Naruto couldn't help but scowl to himself as he considered Yuna and their conversation. He laughed a little and remarked, thanks Ruby-chan. I appreciate it. I genuinely feel sorry for you, Yuna. However, I'm not sure how much longer I can put up with this. I would punish those Faith for causing you such pain if I could. I would inflict pain on all the men who have wronged you. You're a kind person, but I'm at a loss for what to do. What ought I to do? This is awful. Naruto did, in fact, have more questions than answers. Talk to me, Yuna, please. Tell me about your problems. All I want to do is assist. Unfortunately, he didn't think things would ever improve. Since he didn't want to lose his chance to take part in the Chunin exams and take on some worthwhile missions outside of the hamlet, he really hoped they did. His life was difficult enough without these issues to be added to his already long list of concerns. Let me help you, please. So you're telling me that Sakura, Sasuke's #1 lollipop licker is actually taking training seriously. And on top of that, she's working with you and Pira without complaining. How the hell did that happen? Naruto asked Ruby Rose a question. As Ruby bit into a sugar cookie and enjoyed the flavor, she nodded enthusiastically. I think it has to do with why I was chosen as Sasuke's replacement on Team 7. Apparently, Sasuke actually attacked Pira. She added, swallowing, turning back to Naruto. At this point, Anko interrupted and replied, I was there during the meeting. Sasuke attacked Pira because she was trying to help him and Sakura pass the Genin exam. She understood the true purpose of the test and realized that in order for them to pass, she'd have to act. When Sasuke was brought before the Hokage, he was completely unapologetic and went on a long rant. The kid was a real moron, and it was obvious something had to be done about him. So, it was decided that he would be removed from Team 7 and the Shinobi Corps, in its entirety. And then you were chosen as the replacement, Ruby. So, congratulations on that. Ruby gave her a grateful smile before she resumed her conversation. She had already eaten the remaining sugar cookies while Anko was speaking, as evidenced by the chocolate chip cookie in her hands. Sounds like Sasuke had a few too many screws loose after what happened to his clan. Anyways, she was beaming at Naruto at this point. Sakura seems to have realized how unhinged Sasuke is and decided to get over him and that silly crush of hers. It helps that Ibiki-sensei is, as hard as he is. He's really been working as hard. I definitely feel like I'm getting stronger under his guidance, but at the same time, it's pretty hard. I see. Well, I'm glad she didn't just give up being a kunoichi because she couldn't be with her precious, Sasuke-kun. She definitely has the potential to be something great. Naruto replied, just wish I could say things were going as well for our team. With a pat on the head, Anko remarked, I hear ya, Naruto-kun. I'm assuming something else happened. You did seem pretty tense earlier. Naruto nodded his head after complaining angrily to himself. I went to MY compound to return some things and to take a new batch of scrolls and books and whatever else might catch my interest. Yuna, he was clenching his fists. She told me to get out and stay out of my home. She doesn't want me returning there ever again. I told her she was damn lucky I don't charge her rent or kick her out on the streets for Danzo to take her. She's lucky I even bothered to chase off Kiba for her last week. I don't give a damn what she says, I'm going to continue perusing my parents' belongings and learn everything I can. Hearing what had transpired, Anko frowned. Naruto-kun, do you want to talk to Hokage-sama about this? If things continue like this, you four might not be entering the upcoming Chunin exams. If you two can't work together, I can see about temporarily removing Yuna from the team or something. Naruto shook his head and scowled. I don't hate her, Anko-chan. I understand that she's in pain. I understand that she's going through the stages of grief, but... With a sorrowful scowl, Ruby grabbed one of his hands in hers and gave it a light squeeze to express her support. You can't help her if she won't let you in, right? Yep, unfortunately, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Naruto replied. After a moment of contemplation, Anko announced, I want to try and take you out on a C-rank mission. If I see that you two can work together, despite your differences, then we might be able to salvage this broken team before the exams roll around. Naruto looked at Anko and replied, that sounds wonderful, actually. I think getting out and seeing what's out there would help all of us. I'd really prefer not to have to chase Kiba away from the girls any more times than I absolutely have to. Ruby looked at him and stated, he really doesn't seem to understand the meaning of, no. He's even tried hitting on Pira and me. The guy just won't take, no, for an answer. And being called a breeding bitch by him was disgusting. Anko sighed and said, that's it. I'm talking to Hokage-sama and Tsume-sama about the brat. Ruby, do you think you can go and get Pira? Naruto-kun, I want you to go and get Yuna and the others and meet me in the Hokage's office. We're nipping this problem in the bud right now. Both Ruby and Naruto gave a nod of approval. As Ruby devoured the remainder of her chocolate chip cookies, Anko promptly settled their tab. They then parted ways to go and complete the tasks at hand. Office of the Hokage. Hiruzen had no idea what to anticipate when Anko walked into his office. Anko, I thought you were going on a date. What happened? The snake mistress sat across from the Hokage and responded, I was informed by Ruby Rose about something that has me disturbed, Hokage-sama. As I'm sure you know by now, Naruto-kun has had to chase Kiba Inuzuka away from Yuna on more than one occasion. And now I've learned that he's referred to Ruby and her teammate, Piranikos, as breeding bitches. I think it's about time he learns a very hard lesson. With a frown, the third said, I assume the others are being brought to me now. I want to hear their accounts in regards to this matter. Anko gave a nod of approval. Yes, Hokage-sama, Naruto-kun is bringing the rest of my team while Ruby has run off to get Pira. They should be here soon. Hiruzen responded, good, and went back to work on some paperwork. Fortunately, their wait was short. He gazed into Ruby's eyes after everyone had been crammed into his office. It has been brought to my attention that Kiba Inuzuka is sexually harassing you and your teammate. Can you attest to this? Ruby smiled and replied, it's true, Hokage-sama. Kiba has tried hitting on me before and he said I would make for a good breeding bitch. I wanted to hurt him really bad for saying such a horrible thing to me. The gorgeous redhead shivered in disgust at this point, looking directly into the Hokage's eyes and saying, I don't like people like him touching me, Hokage-sama. Pira nodded along and said, I have tried to be nice and respectful to him, but Kiba is honestly even wearing my patience thin. When I told him no, that I wasn't interested in him, he grabbed my wrist pretty hard and tried to demand that I give in and give him what we both wanted. Hiruzen gave a disgusted scowl. And has he approached you, as well? He said, glancing at the YRP females. I see. They all nodded, but Payne's expression was one of intense rage. He took one look at me and said I wasn't woman enough for a prime alpha like him. I'm too flat and not attractive enough for his tastes. I'm more concerned for Yuna and Riku. Riku shivered in place and stroked her arms. He tried to grab my breasts. Right out there in the open, with people watching and everything. I threatened to cut his hands off if he ever tried again, but he just scoffed and tried to tell me I was his property. Naruto-kun helped me out of a tight spot, there. Yuna grinned and replied, Naruto saved me from having to deal with him as well. Twice now, actually. After Naruto beat him up, you'd think Kiba would get the message to leave us alone. Kiba blatantly told me that I'd be coming with him back to his place for some fun. I think he meant to take me by force if he had to. Hiruzen frowned and gave a sympathetic nod. When the Anbu swiftly vanished, Hiruzen returned to his paperwork and considered his options. I see. Anbu, bring Sume Inuzuka and her son, Kiba, to me immediately. He said, Naruto-kun, how are you acclimating to your new eye? Is everything working properly? He inquired after a time, looking directly into Naruto's eyes. The blonde replied, it's working wonderfully. I haven't experienced any problems with it. No signs of overuse, limited chakra drain, it's working like a charm. Gazing intently into Naruto's eyes, Hiruzen remarked, I'm glad to hear it. I expect you to make far better use of it than Kakashi ever did. I believe in you, Naruto-kun. I know you'll make me proud. It was Naruto who said, thanks Gramps. At this moment, Sume and Kiba Inuzuka made their reappearance with the Anbu. Kiba scowled at Naruto for a moment before shifting his attention to the other girls nearby. He was ready to speak, licking his lips gratefully, when a sudden wave of murderous purpose passed over him. He turned slowly to face the Hokage, who was gazing at him fiercely. What did I do? Ignoring Kiba, Hiruzen glanced at Sume, it has come to my attention that your son has been sexually harassing everyone with breasts. From what I've learned from these lovely women here, Kiba has been referring to them as breeding bitches, and has tried to force himself on them on numerous occasions. He has shown no respect for women in any station, and it is my concern that, if something isn't done soon to curb such behavior, he will end up hurting a fellow Konoha kunoichi. From what I understand, Kiba is not above raping his chosen victim. I assume you have tried to instill in him proper virtues and morals. Before she glared down at her son, Sume's eyes were wide. I thought I had done a good job. Kiba, what the hell is wrong with you? Who taught you to behave like this? Kiba laughed and asked, is it a crime to admire such fine ladies? Besides, Uncle Sunra doesn't seem to have any problems getting laid. If it works for him, why wouldn't it work for me? Besides, these ladies should be honored to bear my seed. I'd definitely show them a better time than this loser ever could. He replied, waving dismissively at Naruto. Sunra, you mean my idiot brother-in-law? Kiba, he's a terrible example to follow. I don't know what kind of bullshit he's been feeding you, but it stops now. From now on you will show respect to women, no matter what they look like or how they behave. And if a woman tells you no, then it means fucking no. You do not try to force yourself on women, Kiba. What the hell is wrong with you? Soom yelled. Kiba laughed and replied, yeah, Uncle Sunra said you'd say something like that if you found out. He also said you're a terrible clan leader. And you know what? I think I agree with him. Before Naruto sucker punched Kiba in the face, fracturing his nose and causing a few teeth to fall out, everyone's eyes widened. You rotten asshole. That's your mother you're speaking to like that. Do you really have no respect for your own family? Kiba gave Naruto a furious glare before launching himself at him, prepared to rip his neck if necessary. But before he could go more than a few steps, Kiba was pinned to the ground with his face against the ground by an Anbu. The Anbu ordered sharply, don't try to get up. With a frown, Hiruzen chose to ask Kiba a question. Kiba, if you were to leave here a free man, with no punishment given, would you try to force yourself on Hinata Hyuga and Kurenai Yuhi? Your teammates, I remind you. Answer me honestly. As he fought his Anbu oppressor, Kiba let out a little growl. He refused to simply lie down and accept it, even if it was a pointless attempt. Hinata's my bitch. Why she still shows interest in Naruto is beyond me. As for Kurenai, she's lucky I don't just take her on the spot like the bitch in heat she is. She doesn't realize yet what it means to be with a true alpha. In slight disbelief, Naruto shook his head and grimaced. How the hell did they ever let someone like you pass the true genin test? Hiruzen rose and stepped up to his downed form before Kiba could speak another word. The Hokage stared into Kiba's eyes and gestured for his Anbu to back off. I am highly disappointed in you, Kiba Inuzuka. In order to protect your teammates from you, I am removing you from Team 8 effective immediately. You are being put in house arrest for the time being. It is my hope that Soom can beat some sense into you if need be. I will also inform Inoichi to see you twice a week for therapy sessions. If the two of them tell me that you are a lost cause, your chakra will be sealed, and you will be forced to live out the rest of your days as a civilian. You're damn lucky I don't just throw you in prison now and be done with it. Kiba gazed frightened into the Hokage's eyes, his eyes wide. What? But you can't do this to me. I passed and everything. I was finally going to make Hinata my woman. Hiruzen grinned and added, if I hear you've set foot outside of your clan's compound, you will regret it, Kiba Inuzuka. Soon, take your son home and stress upon him the seriousness of the situation. You know exactly what will happen to him should he step out of your compound. For what it's worth, I'm sorry, Hokage-sama, Soon remarked, nodding. The Hokage smiled amiably and waved it away. After receiving a nod, Soon hurried off with her kid, saying, don't apologize, Soon. You did nothing wrong. Now go. After they left, Hiruzen briefly glanced at Yuna before focusing on Naruto. Naruto-kun, it's not hard to tell that something else has you frustrated. Would you mind sharing? After giving Yuna a fleeting glance, Naruto fixed the Hokage with his gaze. As you know, I gave my rightful home to my teammates so they'd be safe from Danzo and whoever else might want them. I understood why Yuna didn't want to live with me, so I moved in with Anko-chan instead. Earlier, when I went to peruse my parents' library again, Yuna snapped at me and told me to stay out of her home. As I said to her before, she's damn lucky I don't charge her rent for living in my home. Believe me, I understand that Yuna is grieving, but even still, there's a limit to how much I can take. Looking into Yuna's eyes, the blonde offered her a small grin and replied, I don't hate you, Yuna. In fact, I want to be friends. I would never try to take Titus' place and I would never hurt you like whoever hurt you before. You just need to let me in and trust in me a little. We're teammates now, and, as I said, I'm here if you need me to be. Can we please put aside our differences and start over as friends? After a brief glance at her cousin, Yuna returned her attention to Naruto. I'm sorry, Naruto, I don't know, but, she murmured, closing her eyes. We should probably reveal more about what happened in our pasts, huh? She said, turning to face the Hokage. Hiruzen gave a wink and continued, if you feel up to sharing it with us now, then please do so. If you come clean with us, I'm sure we can answer some questions you might have as well. Yuna settled herself on one of the chairs facing the Hokage's desk and tried to think. She finally made the decision to come honest. I had just become a summoner when I met Titus for the first time. He had been washed ashore on the Isle of Besaid after an encounter with Sin. I felt an instant attraction to him, and we became quick friends, despite the fact he was a bit awkward in regard to our world. I enjoyed his company. Then we met Seymour Guado. Riku walked up next to her cousin and put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. It's okay, Uni. Take your time. She turned to face Naruto and dropped her head, saying, No, I need to get this off my chest before I explode at anyone again. Not like I did to Naruto. I'm truly sorry for earlier, Naruto. I shouldn't have said what I did. Naruto just gave her a smile and waved it away. It's fine, Yuna. Believe me, I can understand. Thank you. The former summoner turned back to the Hokage and told her story. Seymour was, how to put it? Something about him was just disturbing. Creepy, in a way. There was always something off about him. It wasn't until later that we came to understand why. Anyways, Seymour tried to convince me to be his bride. He said that there was more than one way to inspire the people of Spyro without having to give up my life-stopping sin. But, Yuna continued, stopping for a moment. A sphere from Lord Jiskel explained a great deal about Seymour. He had become dark and twisted, and he had killed his own father. He was going to try and use me, as well. Everyone was a tool to be used in his sick, twisted mind. We proceeded to kill Seymour, but before I could perform the sending to usher him along into the far plane, the place where our dead go, he was carried away and we were treated as criminals. We later found out that Seymour had become an unsent. A being that was dead, but had such strong desires to remain in the world of the living that they continued to exist as normal. After I was taken away from home, I decided that I would try and perform the sending on Seymour at R. Yuna stopped here, shivering with loathing. She gave her cousin a grateful grin when she felt Riku gently hug her shoulder. Turning around to face the Hokage, she said, I plan to use our wedding as a means of getting close enough to send him. Unfortunately, things did not go according to plan. Titus and the others tried to come to my rescue, but things didn't work out how we had hoped. Seymour stole my first kiss. I felt so disgusted and dirty. I wanted to kill him all over again and wash myself clean of his filth. She closed her eyes and took a breath before continuing. We fought Seymour again, but we were excommunicated from Yevon and its teachings. That is when Titus and I shared our first and only kiss. We learned that Seymour wanted to ascend to godhood, in a sense. He wanted my help in becoming the new Sin. He killed so many Ronso on Mt. Gagazet. Softly sighing, she bowed her head and, we did eventually manage to defeat him and perform the sending on him so he would pass on to the far plane. Then there's Waka. Waka was a dear friend, but he was so set in his own ways and beliefs that something outside of the norm would confound him and make him frustrated. Waka was such a stout believer in everything Yevon and lived his life according to the teachings. This meant he was racist against the Al-Bed, like Riku here. Riku nodded and said, when it came time for us to fight Seymour at Makalania Temple, Waka was more concerned with the fact that Seymour was a maester of Yevon and that we shouldn't do anything rash that could get us in trouble. It didn't matter to him that Seymour was an evil baddie. Yuna scowled for a moment before responding. Waka wasn't happy when he found out Riku was an Al-Bed. Even after being helped by them, he was still kind of racist towards them. And when we were excommunicated from Yevon, he was in shock and didn't take it well. That's the thing he was most worried about. Not the fact that the maesters of Yevon were unsent monsters. Then, 2 years later, we found a sphere that showed us an image of someone strongly resembling Titus. It was during this time that brother became obsessed with me to the point he would try to win me over constantly. I tried to be nice to him and treat him civilly, but I really wished he would have respected my feelings instead of constantly pining after me like he did. I tried to let him down easy, but he was so insistent. Yuna explained with a deep scowl on her face. Now Pain raised his voice. As for that sphere with the Titus lookalike, we found out it was a guy named Shiyin. The Faith managed to rope us into helping save the world again, this time from Shiyin and Vegnagan. At the end of it all, the Faith were supposed to return Titus to us, but they lied. You see, Titus was a dream of the Faith. He never truly existed outside of their dreams. So when Sin was finally defeated once and for all, Titus ceased to be. Riku smiled and said, the Faith got Uni's hopes up for nothing. They just used us again and gave nothing back. So unfair. Hiruzen gave a long sigh and stated, I am sorry you have had to experience such trying circumstances. As promised, if you have any questions you want answered, ask them now. Pain made the decision to speak first. You told us that Naruto is a Jinchuriki. You never really explained to us what that entailed. All we really know is that he has this thing called the Kyuubi no Yoko sealed inside of him. We're not even sure what that is or why this makes the people hate Naruto so much. Will you please tell us now? The Hokage nodded and said, there are a total of 9 Biju. They are massive chakra constructs that take the form of differing animals. For instance, the Kyuubi no Yoko is essentially a giant fox with 9 tails. The stronger the Biju, the more tails they possess. Naturally, this makes the Kyuubi the strongest of the 9. However, the Biju are feared throughout the elemental nations. I don't know why Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage, felt it was a bright idea to seal away all the Biju and give them to the other villages the way he did. Sighing, he rubbed the bridge of his nose and shook it off. Anyways. On the night of Naruto-kun's birth, the Kyuubi was released from its second host. It terrorized the village and killed a lot of people. Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, had to seal the might beast inside of his son, Naruto Uzumaki. It was his hope that the village would see him as their hero and treat him with the respect he deserved. But this is when Naruto took over. The people make us into Jinchuriki. They seal the creatures inside of us and then they treat us like we aren't even human anymore. They mistreat us. They hurt us. Hell, some people even treat us like we're weapons of mass destruction to be used by our village and then thrown away when we break. They can just create more Jinchuriki as they please. Seeing the different girls in the room, he nodded and continued, to the people of Konoha, I'm a demon. Always have been. Probably always will be, as well. Jinchuriki don't lead easy lives. Riku looked at him and replied, but that doesn't make any sense. If they make you guys Jinchuriki, why do they treat you so horribly? I don't get it. Hiruzen gave a headshake. It doesn't make any sense. Sadly, it's just how things are. Jinchuriki are less than human and treated as if they don't belong. Oh, it's convenient that they make for good weapons in times of war, but otherwise. They would prefer it if the Jinchuriki would stay out of sight and out of mind. Yuna sighed and said, Naruto, I am so sorry. You've already got it bad enough without me adding onto your stress. I'm still not sure how to feel about you, and I know I still have problems, but I'll try. I want to be your friend. I really do. I'm just. After briefly petting Yuna's hair and placing a hand on her head, Naruto said, don't worry about it, Yuna. Yes, I'm still upset, but I don't want to hold a grudge against you. Thank you for opening up to us finally. Although Yuna reddened a little at the loving gesture, she remained silent. Rather, she chose to pose a query. Hokage-sama, do you have someone in mind to replace Kiba on Team 8? That is a very good question. Hiruzen tapped his finger thoughtfully against his chin. The others observed as Hiruzen started going through file after file until he appeared to have located what he was looking for. Ah, here we go. Asuna Yuki. She is skilled with the sword and quite fluent in her kenjutsu style. She was benched after her teammates were killed on a B-rank mission. She should make a wonderful addition to Team 8. Naruto looked up and replied, Asuna-chan. I was wondering what happened to her. I haven't seen her for at least 2 months now. I didn't realize she lost her team like that. Wasn't she in a relationship with one of her teammates? Kazuto Kirigaya, known by his nickname of Kirito. Yes, she was in a relationship with him. It would seem he and their sensei fought to buy her time to get away from their assailants. I've had Inoichi visit her twice a week for regular therapy sessions. Thankfully, she seems to be doing better than she was 2 months ago. Hiruzen clarified. Poor Asuna-chan, I've missed her. I really hope she's okay to take missions again, stated Naruto. She'll be fine. If Inoichi says she's made stellar progress, then I believe him. Besides, I think she'd be happy to see you again, Naruto-kun. You always were close to one another. With a small laugh, Naruto remarked, yeah. Anyways, are we done here, Gramps? I'm feeling absolutely exhausted right now. Of course, you're all dismissed. Go home and get some rest. I have a few people I need to make aware of their new teammates. Hiruzen laughed. Naruto said, thanks Gramps, and then he and the others left the room. Yuna abruptly grabbed Naruto's hand as they were leaving the Hokage Tower. He asked, looking back into her eyes, what's up, Yuna? I'm sorry, if you want to move into your parents' home, I won't stop you. It might be uncomfortable for a while, but I don't want to be unnecessarily cruel to you. Yuna said. I'm not moving in until you're comfortable with that idea, Yuna. Just, don't try to kick me out again, okay? Naruto replied, shaking his head. After a brief period of somber laughter, Yuna remarked, thank you. It honestly feels good to get all of that off my chest finally. According to Naruto, It usually does. We've all got our burdens to bear and demons in our past to deal with. There's no shame in admitting that you're having a hard time dealing with it all. That's what friends are there for, after all. Yuna gave him a grateful grin before turning back to face Pain and Riku. Let's go home, girls. Anko-sensei, we'll be seeing you in Naruto tomorrow for training, right? She raised an eyebrow at her when Anko nodded. You're acting awfully calm now, considering you've been going through the stages of grief lately. Are you sure you're okay now? The brunette nodded her head and said, right now I feel fine. Better than I have lately, at least. I don't feel angry anymore. I felt really bad about what I did to Naruto. I wanted to apologize, but I just didn't know how to. I want to get better, but anything could happen. So, I'm just going to take this period of tranquility and think things over for a while. Anko gave her a brief glance before stating, go home and get some rest. We'll see how you're doing come tomorrow morning. The next step is bargaining, so I hope you're prepared for that one. After that comes depression. In the state you've been lately, I'm most worried about that stage in particular. After all you've been through, I worry about what you might do in that state. Naruto smiled and replied, I'm scared for you when you get to that stage, Yuna. I want you to remember that I'm here for you if and when you need me. You have Riku-chan and Pain-chan as well. Can you make me a promise, Yuna? What's the promise? Yuna questioned, calmingly meeting his eyes. When you get to that stage, promise me that you won't shut us out. No matter what, don't shut us out when you need us the most. Even if all we can offer is a hug or a few kind words and gestures, don't shut us out. Naruto asked. Yuna shook her head and scowled a little. I'm not sure if I can make that promise. I don't know what to expect when I hit that stage. It's frightening to think about. But, she replied sharply, nodding into Naruto's eyes, I'll do my best. I promise. To test the waters a little, Naruto answered, glad to hear it. Then, he approached Yuna and gently drew her into an embrace. He gave her a gentle stroke on the back and said, you'll be okay, Yuna. That's my promise to you. No matter what you might go through, I'll be there to help you through it. She didn't complain or struggle to get away. Yuna blushed a little and gave him a tentative hug in return. Thank you, Naruto. Before letting her go, Naruto murmured, of course. He then said goodnight to Ruby and Pyrrha and went home with Anko. Anko gave her partner a sly smile and prodded his cheek when they had disappeared from view. Are you getting flirty with Yuna now, too? How cute. With a frustrated groan, Naruto shook his head. You know that's not it, Anko-chan. Yuna's been through a really hard time, and I just want to ensure she recovers from her trauma. She deserves better than the hand she was dealt. I'm just really worried about her. What if she tries to kill herself? Anko shook her head and scowled. We'll have to keep a close eye on her during that stage. We should never leave her alone. No matter what, we'll take care of her. We won't let her suffer alone. Naruto agreed, saying, right. It's not going to be easy, but we'll pull through somehow. The pair went home and spent the night together as there was nothing more to say. Their only hope was that everything would work out. The following day, Naruto and Anko saw right away that something was up when Pain was the only person to arrive at the training area. Before either of them could speak, the silver-haired woman extended her hand to say, Yuna is okay. Throughout the night, we could hear her trying to convince the Faith that she'd do whatever they wanted if they'd just let her see Titus one more time. She offered to do so many different things before she finally gave up. As you said before, she got through the bargaining stage rather quickly. I'm afraid that none of us got a lot of sleep last night. Softly sighing, Pain nodded her head and, Riku is with Yuna now, trying to help her however she can. We're afraid to leave Yuna alone, however, which is why I came alone. Is there any chance we can put aside training for now until Yuna's better? Naruto sighed. I know it's hard, but she needs to get out and do things to focus her mind on something other than her woes. In order to keep my thoughts away from suicide, I had to make sure I stayed active and distract myself from those thoughts. Believe me, with all that I've been through growing up, I did contemplate suicide. The longer you stew in your depression and anxiety, the worse you'll feel. So whether she likes it or not, we're going to drag her out and do something. What do you think, Anko-chan? The snake mistress nodded and continued, Naruto-kun's right. The best way to help Yuna through this is by forcing her to focus her mind on other things. In this case, doing some simple missions will help. On our off time, We need to find something for Yuna to do that would help her to focus her mind away from her suicidal thoughts. Pain pondered for a time, then scowled. If it works, it works. If not, we'll have to come up with another plan. She eventually nodded her head and followed them as they made their way to Naruto's proper residence. Naruto soon saw someone he hadn't seen in months as they moved into the actual village and headed for the clan area, which was home to the Uzumaki compound. Asuna-chan, asked Naruto out loud, I wonder if she's met her new team yet. She might have. Do you want to stop and ask her? Enko replied, glancing ahead at the girl with the orange hair. Naruto shook his head and scowled for a while. Later. Right now, our concern should be on Yuna. Let's. Asuna noticed them before Naruto had a chance to finish his sentence. With a quick approach, Asuna replied, Naruto. It's been a while. How have you been? And smiled slightly at Naruto. After a moment of glancing between them, Pain turned to face Anko and nodded. Before leaving with Pain, Anko gave Naruto a gentle pat on the head and said, We'll see you later, Naruto. Spend some time with your friend. When he was alone, Naruto looked at Asuna. Things have been up and down for me, I suppose. I don't think it's anything when compared to what you've been through, though. But, maybe we should go somewhere and catch up a bit. I'm sure we both have a lot of questions. Right. But, are you sure you're not busy? You looked like you were in the middle of something, the Oranget remarked, nodding. Naruto looked in the direction the others had gone and said, They've got it handled for right now. I'll explain everything in a bit. For now, you and I need to talk, too. He took his friend by the hand and they started walking toward the Hokage monument, one of his favorite spots in the village. Asuna briefly looked into Naruto's eyes as they walked before shifting her attention to the front. I assume you're wondering where I've been. Shush, we're almost there. It's best to talk about these kinds of things away from prying eyes and ears, Naruto stated with a smile at Asuna. Asuna gave her buddy a smile and gave her a sympathetic nod. Of course, Naruto. They sat down next to one other shortly after reaching their target, the top of the fort's head. There was a pause, and then Naruto turned to face Asuna. Gramps told me about what happened to you and your team. For what it's worth, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you when you needed me to be. If I had known. Asuna looked at her companion and replied, You couldn't have known, Naruto. And I never talked to you about it, either. I barely left my apartment to do anything other than get groceries so I wouldn't starve to death. And you've been busy, so you couldn't possibly have known what was going on with me. With a sorrowful scowl, Naruto murmured, I'm here for you now, Asuna-chan. I'll listen if you want to talk about what happened. Asuna nodded her head and replied, Thank you, Naruto. I appreciate it, I really do, but I get the feeling you're dealing with something almost exactly like what I've been through recently. If you really want to know, though, I'll tell you. Softly chuckling, Naruto gazed over the town as he said, You could say that. One of my new teammates recently suffered a tragic loss of her own before coming here to Konoha. She's been going through the stages of grief, or DABDA, and she's currently trying to get through the fourth stage, depression. I get the feeling you went through them as well, didn't you? I assume you've come to accept what has happened. There's no way to go back and change the outcome. What's done is done and, no matter how much you might wish it was different. Softly sighing, Naruto continued, Yuna has experienced a lot. Before she ended up here in Konoha, she was in another world entirely. To summarize it as best I can, it was a giant clusterfuck. She was traumatized by a number of men in her life. Seeing the look that Asuna was giving him, Naruto waved it off and replied, Not like that. One of them was a serious creepazoid that stole her first kiss and tried to use her to get what he wanted. Another was her cousin, who was pining after her for a long time and didn't understand the meaning of the world. No. Waka was a racist douchebag for the majority of her first adventure. Then there was Titus. Lying back on the stone, he gazed at the heavens and said, She loved Titus with all her being. He became the light of her life and helped stop this monster called sin. However, Titus never truly existed. He was a dream of the faith that they simply used to end their infinite suffering. They took Titus away from Yuna. And then, they used Titus against Yuna to get her to help them save her world again. But, at the very end, they didn't give Titus back to her. They dangled the bait right there in front of her, luring her in with false promises, and never gave him back. She lost the most important person in her life not just once, but twice. When she arrived here in Konoha, That's when it all truly hit her that Titus was never coming back. He turned to Asuna and said, because of how screwed up the men were in her life, she's been wary around me and hasn't really let me in. I want to help her, I truly do, but it's been tough. For right now, she's got exactly who she needs there with her, Riku, Pain, and Anko-sensei. As I said, she's reached the depression stage. We're going to try and help her through this stage as best we can. The main goal right now is to keep her busy and keep her active. The less time she has to think about Titus and everything else, the better. I'm not sure if you remember or not, but I didn't exactly have it easy growing up. I contemplated suicide more often than I'd like to admit. One thing that helped me through that stage of my life was keeping active. Pranks were a great way to keep my mind occupied. Same with training and studying at the library. Just so long as I didn't stop to think those depressing thoughts, I was fine. It certainly wasn't easy, but I pulled through. So, I hope the same will hold true for Yuna. Just like I would have been there for you if I had known. Naruto replied with a sincere grin. With a sorrowful grin, Asuna leaned out and took his hand in hers. It's okay, Naruto, I'm the one that chose to seclude myself. And you're right, I've finally accepted that things are the way that they are, whether I like it or not. But it would be nice to talk about what happened. If you're still willing to listen, that is. With a smile, Naruto responded, of course, Asuna-chan. You're one of my best friends. I'll always be here when you need me. Asuna said, thank you, Naruto. Yuna sobbed against her cousin's chest while holding on to Riku. He's never coming back. The faith, they. Riku hugged her dearest pal and nodded. Titus is gone, Uni. The faith lied to us. They lied to you. It's not fair and it was really cruel of them. I'm sorry. Yuna put her arms around Riku and gave her a firm embrace. We'll never get to go home again, will we? It probably wouldn't matter anyways, would it? At this moment, Pain and Anko entered the room and took seats close to them. How are you holding up, Yuna? Think you're up for a little light exercise? Riku scowled in perplexity, but Yuna interrupted her before she could inquire. Where's Naruto? He didn't want to see me again, did he? I've been so mean and now he hates me. Anko sighed and replied, not quite. Naruto-kun would be here, but that Asuna girl wanted to catch up with him. I told him to go on ahead. So that leaves you three with me. And I'm not taking no for an answer. You three are coming with me and we're going to handle some simple D-rank missions throughout the village. I'm not about to let you stay here and be all mopey. We're going to fight through the depression and you're going to come out stronger at the end of it. That's my guarantee to you, Yuna. So, let's get up, you go get dressed, and we'll get going. Yuna nodded her head and added, I don't want to go anywhere without Naruto. He promised he'd be here for me. I don't want to do any training or missions unless he's there with me. After the others blinked in bewilderment, Anko said, okay, so you've gone from being unable to be around him to suddenly wanting him here. I'm lost. Ditto. Remarked Riku. Uni, are you sure you're okay? Yuna sighed and continued, Naruto's been so nice to me, even though I've been horrible to him. And he promised he'd help me through this. I want his help. I want to be friends. I don't want him to hate me. Anko turned and gestured for them to follow her after saying, I see. Well, why don't we go out and look for him? I know of a few places he and Asuna could have gone. Besides, taking a walk around the village will be good for you. Yuna scowled hard as she heard Asuna's name and wondered, he's with another girl. When the brunette realized what she was thinking, her eyes widened a little, and she asked herself, why does that bother me so much? Indeed, other from Titus, he is the only guy to treat me as though I am an individual and that I truly matter. However, Yuna, Riku, and Pain got up and followed Anko after shaking it off. Later, I'll figure it out. I just want to find him right now. Naruto. They wanted to rape me and turn me into what they referred to as a cum dumpster. They had already killed Hizashi, before Kazuto and Ritoshi-sensei broke free and fought them to buy me time to escape. I was so scared, I didn't know what to do, but I knew that I didn't want to live that kind of life, if you can even call it that. Asuna elaborated. For support, Naruto gave her hand a light squeeze. Nobody can or will blame you for what happened. It wasn't your fault. Besides that, things went bad quickly and you were in a state of panic. Running was all you could do at that point. Asuna sighed and continued, sadly, I didn't exactly get very far. One of those monsters got past Kazuto and Ritoshi-sensei and began to attack me. When he finally got me pinned down, I thought it was all over for me. That's when Kazuto arrived and began to fight him off. But, that's when Kazuto died. That man, I think his name was Kakuzu. He took Kazuto's heart. It was strange, though. Kakuzu didn't seem interested in what the other three wanted. When he got Kazuto's heart, he just left. It was shortly after this that reinforcements finally arrived, but it didn't matter. My teammates were all dead and I was all that was left. I was in such a state of shock after it was all over. I nearly quit being a kunoichi entirely. I wanted to talk to you, but I couldn't bring myself to even say hi to you. Besides, the final exams were coming up for you and I didn't want to disturb you when you were so close to graduating. So, I went through the stages of grief on my own. Denial didn't last long. Anger. I wanted nothing more than to chase down Kakuzu and kill him. Sadly, without knowing how he was still alive, I knew there was nothing I could do to him. Bargaining went by quickly as well. Depression lasted far longer than I would have liked. But, I've finally come to accept things as they are. There was nothing I could have done that would have made a difference. So I want to get stronger to protect my few remaining loved ones. Asuna clarified. Naruto nodded. But before he could respond, he felt a sudden embrace from behind. He looked over his shoulder and saw Yuna clinging to him, blinking in disbelief. He reached up and started petting her head tenderly. Not that I'm complaining, but this is kind of weird coming from you, Yuna. Are you okay? Yuna stared into his eyes and scowled. You promised you'd be there for me. I'm not about to do any training or do more of those boring missions without you. I can't deal with this on my own. Asuna scowled while observing Yuna's conversation with Naruto. She appears envious of me, but I'm not sure if she's realized it herself. It appears that she intends to utilize Naruto to make herself feel better. She will use him in the same way as those Faith used her. In any case, Naruto is too good for her. Naruto embraced Yuna more tightly and said, Sorry, Yuna. I was going to catch up with you girls later. I wanted to catch up with my friend and talk about certain things. I didn't forget about you or anything, though. I needed to open up to somebody and just talk about everything that's happened recently. I needed to talk to Naruto and tell him how I felt. That's all, Asuna stated with a disarming smile. Asking, how you felt. What does that mean? Yuna scowled severely. Naruto nodded his head and said, Asuna-chan's been through a tough time, just like you. Like you, she's lost people very dear to her, including Kirito, the guy she was in love with ever since they were kids. While your true love was taken from you by the Faith, Asuna-chan's boyfriend was killed by a very powerful missing nin. There's no way to get either of them back. So I brought Asuna-chan here so we could talk and so she could vent to me for a while. Asuna raised her eyebrows and replied, He's right. But, why do you care if somebody shows interest in him? I thought you were still getting over this Titus guy. A little bitterly, Yuna asked, What are you implying? You're acting like Naruto is your possession. Like he's supposed to focus all of his attention on you. You're acting like a jealous, petty girlfriend, Asuna smirked at the former summoner. Before anything could happen, Naruto said, Okay, both of you, that's enough. I'm not really sure what the heck's going on here, but I don't want you fighting with each other. Asuna-chan, I trust Yuna. Even if she's behaving like you say she is, I want to be here for her. Yuna, Asuna-chan is one of my dearest friends. We haven't had the opportunity to talk in a couple of months. Besides that, like I said before, Asuna-chan has suffered as well. I was hoping you two could get along and be there for one another. Not be at each other's throats. With Yuna still holding onto Naruto's clothing, Pain approached and assisted him in standing up before either of the females could speak. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Yuna can be a bit hard to deal with right now, she said after helping Asuna up. Asuna just laughed and replied, Oh, I can tell. I just hope she understands that she isn't going to keep me from spending time with Naruto. Now, I'm actually running a little late to a team meeting. It was nice to meet all of you. And Naruto, thanks again. Asuna approached Naruto with a sly smile on her face and pressed her lips on his cheek. She then turned and left, leaving Yuna incensed and Naruto in shock. Asuna passed by. Anko grinned at her. I like you, girl. Doing that just to screw with them a bit. That's a fun little mind game for sure. Naruto knows I don't mean anything by it. I just wanted to screw with Yuna, the orangutan remarked, laughing. Of course. Well, you'd best hurry up and get to your team. Don't want to keep Kurenai waiting. Anko replied. After responding with a nod, Asuna went to visit her new team. Yuna, meanwhile, scowled at Asuna's fleeing form. Upon her departure, the brunette gazed up into Naruto's eyes and said, "Come on, Naruto. Let's go." Naruto jolted out of his reverie when Yuna pulled on his arm, and they walked to his comrades together. "Trust me, Yuna, Asuna didn't mean anything by that kiss. I think she was just trying to get under your skin," Naruto remarked after observing Yuna's condition. Yuna responded, "Well, it's certainly working." Then she paused and gazed at the floor. "I don't want to think about the Faith or Titus or anything. The more I think about them, about Titus, the worse I feel. You're right, I need to keep moving and stay active. I can't just curl up and cry. I need to get out there and eat, drink, work, etc. But it's hard. I know I'm being unfair, but you remind me of him so much in some ways. I don't want to make you hate me, and I don't want to just use you for my own benefit. But," by saying, "Uni," Riku caught her attention. "We're all here for you. But you have to know that what you're doing is still wrong. You're starting to treat Naruto-kun like he's some kind of replacement for Titus. You can't have the real thing, so you're desperately trying to find someone to fill that void in your heart. You can't do this to Naruto-kun." Naruto nodded his head and replied, "It's okay, Riku-chan. Believe me, I understand what's going on. If this is what Yuna needs to help get her through this rough time, then I'll be here to support her no matter what. Trust me, I won't try to take advantage of her in this state. But I won't just leave her alone, either. Besides, so long as she knows what's going on and is surrounded by people who care about her, I'm positive she'll come out of this in a better state than she's ever been before. What she's doing right now isn't hurting me. I know the boundaries and I know she doesn't really mean any of what she says or what she does. So I won't get my hopes up or anything. You'll be okay, Yuna. I made you a promise and I intend to see it through. I won't hurt you," Naruto replied, grinning at her while shrugging his shoulders. With a nod of gratitude, Yuna buried her face in the bend of his neck and started crying. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Naruto could only give her a tight hug. "Yuna, you'll be okay. You won't ever be harmed again."
So this was it for this story. I hope you enjoyed it. To watch more series like this, subscribe to my channel. Till then, we weeb offline.